Chapter 401, Who Will Be the Bait? Alan Spencer. Spirit Path Fighter. Rank 8 current stats, 9.9. Equipped weapon, Ares the Sword of Light 30% stats buff. Skills. Laser eyes, shoot laser beam from his eyes and caused heavy damage to the opponent. Attack power, 120% max, 9.9. CD, 10 minutes. Incineration, shoot powerful blasts from his palms. Attack power, 120% max, 9.9. CD, 5 minutes. Lightning Fist, punch the enemies and paralyze them with an electric shock. Attack power, 120% max, 9.9. CD, 5 minutes. Berserk, go into a berserk state for 60 seconds, increasing the rank by 1. CD, 12 hours. Finger Beam, can release a concentrated energy beam from both of his index fingers separately. Attack power, 110% max, 9.9. CD, 180 seconds. Solar Beam, absorb the solar energy and use it to attack the enemies. Attack power, 120% max, 9.9. CD, 5 minutes. Passive. Battle Craze, able to fight non-stop while absorbing solar energy. All injuries are healed almost instantly during the day. Flight, able to fly as high as 30 km in altitude. Hypersensors. The android possessed several passive and active sensors which allow him to scan the environment, objects, and living beings. Can perceive danger, heightened smell, hearing, and vision, etc. Oh, I almost forgot about that celestial grade sword given by Emperor Shu. Alan could practically one-shot everyone below Supreme Realm with ease. Mark was very much satisfied with the results of the double upgrade. Of course, there is also a slight dissatisfaction too. It is the restriction of the attack power. Too bad that he won't be a match for either the Zheng or that biological mother of mine. Anyways, I don't have time to think about unnecessary things. There are only 2 days left for Aoyang Zhen's birthday and I will have to leave tomorrow. So, whatever preparations are necessary, they should be done today, thought Mark as he reached upstairs. He went to his room where Alan just opened his eyes and was observing himself, opening and clenching his fists. Upon spotting his master, he quickly bowed without being able to hide his smile as he was too happy to see Mark after so long. Big bro. Mark then went on asking about his meeting with the Necromancer King. Alan didn't leave any detail during his explanation. Sister Elena sacrificed herself in exchange for our lives, but the enemy didn't know that she purposely gave her core to us instead of destroying it so that she could be revived later on. Thankfully, everything went on our way and Lin Zhu managed to return safely, although we lost the Sun and Moon brooch, the Scythe of Doom, and her storage ring. Mark was slightly surprised when he heard those words as Alan was in an unconscious state and couldn't have known what happened later on. But then, as he remembered how Elena had the access to his memories, Mark realized that Alan probably had the same function now that he is at rank 8. Mark then patted Alan's shoulder. Don't worry, Elena will be revived in due time, but I'll have to bother you with a couple of errands. We don't have much time. Alan automatically read what was on his master's mind, but he didn't speak it out. Instead, he gathered his feet and gave a salute and asked, "Your orders, big bro." Mark then turned serious as he said, "I need you to go to the Imperial Palace and remind the chief eunuch about the lunch invitation. Then, meet the third prince to repay the favor with information on the organization named Soul. After that, go to the Galaxy Guild and put up an information request on how to contact Soul. Then travel to the Kunyu Valley to meet our friends there and hand over the letter I'll give you. You will have to do everything before tomorrow's sunrise. Can you manage it?" "Of course, big bro," Alan nodded firmly. Soon, the android left the store to accomplish the tasks given by his master. And in just 5 hours, he returned with good news, surprising Mark with his efficiency. After reporting the news to Mark and giving him the documents with information on Soul written in it, he rushed to the kitchen to supervise Zaimei. For the past 10 days, she was the one who did the cooking as she doesn't want to be a freeloader, well, and also to impress Mark and Song Yue. Song Yue didn't mind it as she treated the teenager as her younger sister, but Mark wouldn't shower praise on her as he doesn't want to encourage her. At the same time, he would also purposely compare her cooking with Alan and Elena's, stating that she has a long way to go. And now that Alan has returned, he was enthusiastic to make dishes for his master, but Mark doesn't want him to cook as it would be disrespectful to his strength. So he gave him the job to supervise Zai Mei and also train the butler robots in assisting the cook. Sitting on his bed, Mark started reading the information given by Shang Wei. The latter collected it from the fourth prince and didn't hesitate to give it to Alan, as the organization is rumored to be the one who took up the assignment from his eldest brother. He doesn't know why Mark wanted this information, but if this will help him take down the crown prince for good, Shang Wei would gladly cooperate. The information only contained various operations allegedly done by this organization. I need the locations of their hideouts or their names. Without them, all of these were nothing. But the info says that Shang Zexi and Nai Raogang might know one of their offices. So, Shang Wei wasn't in the Wuji sect by coincidence. He was trying to escape the assassination by staying there in secret, huh? But according to the articles from the newspaper, he was being imprisoned in the Wuji sect, and I saved him when I destroyed the sect due to my personal issues with them. What a story he cooked up. Mark smirked as he shook his head. Anyways, it has nothing to do with me. Let's focus on how to make contact with this mysterious organization. Wait a second. They do assassinations, right? It was at that moment an idea popped up in his head. Mark's eyes lit up as he mumbled, "To lay a trap for them, I need to put a bounty on myself. Let's make someone meet either the crown prince or Nai Raogang and request them to do this. Nah, that's a bad idea." He immediately thought that if a bounty has been placed on his head, Soul might target Song Yue too. Mark knows nothing about the strength of this organization and wouldn't underestimate them just because he is in the Supreme Realm. Furthermore, they might not even accept the mission in the first place, as the news of him and his super bodyguard destroying the Wuji sect was already spread all over the continent. So he will have to put someone vulnerable. Mark doesn't want to risk with Song Yue. The Black Knight is still Song Yue's father, hence he is also not suitable. Alan can act as bait, but he is too close to Mark's heart. With the demise of Elena, Alan has become more precious. The Zheng and the Gold Dragon were too strong. Manticore and Anan are beasts. Chang Bo is an unrelated person. That leaves just one person. Yup, Zai Mei and her griffin can be the bait I need. I'll leave her at the store and travel to the Eastern Sun with the others. On the surface, she and Chang Bo will manage the store in my absence. I plan to return to this city in secret, using my teleportation skill anyways. Once the war starts in Western Yan, people will be too busy to take of the situation in the Imperial City. This is what those assassins will think and tries to kill Zai Mei. They will fall into my trap. Once I capture them and get the name, I'm going to reveal my real strength. Until then, I need to be patient and careful with my plans. Meanwhile, at the Bloodhill Forest, in the innermost sector of the forest, an army of undead was standing in a line like spectators as two figures were rigorously battling a dragon. Under the relentless assaults from both of them, the dragon has fallen eventually. Once it collapsed, its core was taken out, and all of the energy inside it was slowly absorbed by the Necromancer King, while Elena was healing her injuries using the natural energy from her surroundings. The process went on for the whole night. As the dawn of the next day arrived, the Necromancer King opened his eyes and clenched his fist. Advanced stage of the 9th circle. Finally, I managed to reach my former strength. Now for my mount. He looked at the corpse of the dragon. Chapter 402, Going to Helios City. At the dawn of the following day, Mark, Song Yue, Black Knight, and Alan departed from the Imperial City, traveling in the bicorn carriages given by the royal family of Eastern Sun. A while ago, Zai Mei was left behind at the store, and to keep an eye on her, the Manticore was also left at the store. As for Lan Ju and Jinlong, they traveled to Western Moon and joined the princess. Following them from behind, an ambassador from the Phoenix Empire also left for the Eastern Sun as a formality. However, strangely, this ambassador wasn't any politician or a member of the imperial court. Instead, it was the fourth prince who usually never steps out of the palace. Mark didn't know about it and didn't care even if he knew. Under his orders, the bicorn carriages traveled through the Dwarven Kingdom and then went through the Leon Empire, entered the Eastern Sun Kingdom, and finally reached the destination by late in the evening. It took them about 17 hours of travel to reach Helios City. Excluding Alan, all the remaining travelers, including the coachmen and the bicorns, were dead tired by the time they reached the royal palace. On the way, he realized that he would need a transport aerial vehicle that has enough space to make it feel like a moving house. He also had his eye on an aircraft. Unfortunately, he would need a proper runway to fly it in the first place. Hence, he could only postpone the thought of purchasing it until some other time. Meanwhile, inside a private chamber, Lu Zhen and Lan Jiang were in the middle of a conversation with the ruler of the Dwarven Kingdom, King Kragik Jadefury. The Dwarven King was admiring the wine, while Lan Jiang was hopping for a possible trade between the two kingdoms other than wine too. The blue jeweled wine is indeed praiseworthy. My people would surely love this taste. Yadai, the god of wine and alcohol, blessed your kingdom. However, I was actually looking forward to tasting that legendary black spirit wine of your kingdom. This barbarian has nothing but alcohol in his mind. Lu Zhen wanted to speak about the situation of the trade of veggies and fish meat. Eastern Sun Kingdom shares boundaries with the Dwarven Kingdom, Leon Empire, Kun Empire, and even the Zizhai Empire of the Black Turtle Continent. The majority of its kingdom was in the Vermilion Bird Continent, and it was mostly filled with the Rocky Mountains and barren lands. As for the remaining part, they were just islands in the ocean between the Vermilion Bird Continent and the Black Turtle Continent. Those helped the kingdom in extending their maritime boundaries and so, in turn, help in fishing. Hence, the kingdom majorly depends on either Kun Empire or Leon Empire for vegetables. Having a border with Zizhai Empire known for its fertile land, Lu Zhen compromised on some islands to form trading relations with its northern neighbor and reduce dependency on the other two empires. And he wanted the Dwarven Kingdom to follow his route, with Eastern Sun becoming the mediator. However, the drunken Dwarven King didn't even give him an opportunity to talk about it. He kept asking things about meat and alcohol, and Lan Jiang was forced to give him explanations as the host. It was then a soldier disrupted their meeting and informed them of the arrival of Mark. Lu Zhen immediately got up on his feet and excused himself as the matter wasn't going anywhere. I need to go and attend to an important guest. Our Prime Minister will keep you company. The Dwarven King furrowed his brows in displeasure. Important guest? Which empire's prince is he? No, he is a commoner and the owner of a weapon store, replied Lan Jiang in Lu Zhen's stead. The teenager smiled as he added, he can be considered a chief guest for this event. So, if you excuse me. He turned around and picked up his pace as he was walking away. A weapon store owner. The Dwarven King fell into thoughts for a while before he opened his mouth. Is he that Lu Zhen? Lan Jiang asked with a slight surprise. You know him? I read newspapers too, replied the Dwarven King. We might live in mountains, but that doesn't mean we aren't aware of the world outside of our kingdom. We heard that he sells unique weapons called firearms and has a supreme being as a servant with the power of a pseudo-demigod. Lan Jiang nodded with a bright smile, feeling proud of his grandnephew. His weapons will change this world. I think dwarves will benefit a lot if you form a friendship with him. I have seen a couple of those firearms. They couldn't be made by simple hammer and forge. Furthermore, the parts of each weapon are different from another. It is easier to make a semi-divine grade weapon compared to an ungraded firearm. The Dwarven King thought that it wasn't worth learning the making of firearms when they could just make semi-divine grade weapons and earn lots of gold. As for protection, the treaty with Leon and Phoenix empires will keep it safe. Hence, he didn't see any benefits that Lan Jiang suggested. Lan Jiang could only shrug his shoulders and think that it is a pity before taking this opportunity to bring up the trade. Meanwhile, Aoyang Zhen reached the entrance of the palace and welcomed Mark and his companions in person. "Who else has arrived, King Aoyang?" asked Mark as soon as he met the teenager. The latter answered, "The Lian Empire has sent its third prince and a minister. The Dwarven King is also here." "What about Prince Qin Yu? Is he coming?" asked Mark. He had personal business with the crown prince of the Kun Empire but didn't have a communication talisman to talk with him like he had with Shen Ling, Lan Jiang, and Feng Wu. Hence, his participation is important. Unfortunately for him, Aoyang Zhen only had a piece of bad news. The teenager shook his head. No, the representative was changed at the last minute. The fourth prince, Qin Zhai, is coming. Mark could only inwardly sigh and nod in understanding. Okay, Princess Shen Ling was also on her way. King Shen Yu wasn't coming because of some urgent matters. Anyways, shall we go? Soon, everyone was escorted to their rooms, leaving Aoyang Zhen to have a private talk with his chief guest. As they took their seats, the teenage king went on to ask about the Eye of Talum. Mark took out a fist-sized, eye-shaped amulet and showed it to him. "With the help of an expert system, I removed its consciousness. All that's left is to use it on Zhan Rong to unlock her memories." Yang Zhen sighed in relief after seeing it with his own eyes. "Phew, finally, I can relax a bit. Thank you." "You can thank me after the task," replied Mark. He then said, "Anyways, let's talk about the business. Your kingdom is full of rare materials and I'm interested to buy them in raw form. We could." After a while, the discussion was finished and Mark went to his room to sleep. Well, at least in the eyes of Aoyang Zhen and his soldiers. However, once he locked his room from inside, Mark didn't hesitate to open the skill tab and scrolled down to the section where his spatial skills were listed. He clicked on teleportation. As soon as he did it, a new window was opened, displaying a 3D globe of the planet. Just like his home planet, this one is also made of mostly water, 84%, but larger in size, and has 4 continents with 2 in the eastern hemisphere, 1 in the center, and the other in the western hemisphere. The system also made it quite convenient for him by dividing the continents by their kingdoms and empires. Along with the provinces, even towns and cities were displayed, although the villages were omitted for some reason. The Vermilion Bird continent was divided into 8 regions. Phoenix Empire in the south. Above it, there was Blood Hill Forest covering the vast area. To the left of Blood Hill Forest, there's the Western Moon Kingdom. To the right, there was the Dwarven Kingdom and the mountains of Kush. And to the north, Lian Empire covered a massive area. To the north of the Lian Empire, there's the Kun Empire. To the right of the Kun Empire, there is the Eastern Sun Kingdom, and to the left, there's the Qilin Empire, which was isolated geographically from the Kun and Lian empires by the mountain range of Tawang. And to the northeast of Eastern Sun, a couple of 1,000 kilometers away, the Black Turtle Continent is located. The Black Turtle Continent is ruled by just 2 empires, the Empire of Zijai and the Empire of Bays. As for the Central Dragon Continent, it was ruled by only Dragon Empire. And the remaining White Tiger Continent was called the Beast Empire, where various top-tier intelligent spirit beasts formed their own kingdoms like the werewolves, pantheras, lions, tigers, leopards, jaguars, etc., bears, giants, etc. The ocean is inhabited by a lot of known and unknown species. It is not much explored in history. As a result, the system couldn't gather much information from the timeline. It wasn't the first time he used teleportation, and hence, he wasn't that surprised by the details given by the system. However, when he just practiced during the past few days, he didn't travel so far, so this was more exciting for him. He couldn't stop smiling as he zoomed in a lot of times, and finally clicked on a mountain nearby the Kunyu Valley. Ding, the destination is selected. Please wait for 10 seconds for the generation of the spatial door. Chapter 403. Mark starts the war with a surprise attack. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. As the 10 seconds passed, a portal appeared in front of Mark. He stepped inside. The portal disappeared, and he stepped outside to see himself on the top of a grassy hill. Because it is a wild region, not a thing could be seen in plain sight. Cracking his knuckles, he mumbled, "Okay, now let's plant the bombs." Equip exoskeleton suit. The night vision of the suit cleared the problem of the darkness, and flight ability made it easier for Mark to travel directly to Western Yan without worrying about the pathway. He reached the capital city in no time and continued to fly to the city center, and then silently landed on the ground without alerting anyone. Mark went on to activate stealth mode and took out a C4 from the inventory. Well, the D-Day for the doom of the Phoenix Empire is finally here. Starting from this day, Shang Fu and Lan Jingyi will never be able to sleep peacefully. A couple of hours later, Mark returned to the Kunyu Valley, where a bandit soldier is waiting for him to escort him to the village. He went straight to the cave where he met Feng Wu and his grand tutor. They looked a bit sleepy. It was Mark's fault in a way, as he was the one who made the both of them wait for him until his arrival. The three of them sat together and were having a tea session while Mark did most of the talking. "Look, I have set the timer to 5 o'clock in the morning. The sun rises around 6:30 to 6:45. So our aim is to finish the war within those 9100 minutes of time." Feng Wu gasped in surprise. 90 minutes? That's impossible, Brother Lu. Just traveling itself will take an hour. "I know," Mark nodded with a smile. "That's why your army will start at least half an hour early, and if you follow my plan correctly, it will take just 30-40 minutes to win this war." He briefs his strategy once again. Jai Clan's Grand Elder, the Northern General, the Captain. Basically, everyone above the Sixth Circle realm will be taken care of. All you have to do is to make the remaining enemies surrender and get a firm hold on your capital. The battle robots and tanks should be stationed at the border. The snipers will continue to station on top of the hills like usual, but half of them will be shifted to the roofs of the tallest structures within the city. I will lend you a batch of advanced robots until the situation calms down. As for the Jai Clan heir, he needed to stay as a hostage for a few days. Once you received a formal acknowledgement of independence from the Western Moon and Eastern Sun kingdoms, you will release him and his family, along with the prisoners, on the grounds of humanity. During this time, my servant will stay as your guest to make sure even Song Tai won't try anything funny. All right. Feng Wu and his grand tutor nodded in understanding. Roughly about 3.5 hours later, Jai Palace, Gong City, Western Yan. The heir of the Jai clan, Jai Guanli, 15 years old, his father and the clan patriarch, Jai Cheng, an important clan elder, Jai Wu, the clan's grand elder, Jai Jiangguo, MT, USX representative and paternal uncle of the grand elder of Sui clan, Sui Ping, the new northern general of Phoenix Empire, Hu Shi. Finally, the archbishop of the Church of Nuwa, surnamed Ma. All of them had an emergency meeting early in the morning. As for the elder son, Jai Minjiu, he is more of a scholar who hates fighting and scheming. Hence, he stayed away from the clan as the imperial troops entered Western Yan to defend the territory, and also to search for the Kunyu bandits who could no longer be ignored due to the emergence of their grand tutor. And this meeting is due to the sudden activity of a large army crossing the Kunyu Mountains and on the way to Western Yan. Newly promoted general after the former one retired citing health reasons, Hu Shi was reading the paper he received from his subordinates. Feng Wu's army has about 701,000 soldiers in number, and everyone is equipped with firearms. Based on the latest attacks on our soldier units who ventured into the mountains, some of them surely possessed ether firearms that can strike us from at least a couple of 100 meters away. Apart from that, at least 200 of those metallic puppet weapons called panzers were also spotted in the wild. It was the same model General Shang Wen had recently included in the army. Each of those is not strong enough to kill anyone above 5 circle, and even 4 circle spirit warriors can protect themselves, but below that, there's no stopping it. I personally witnessed their power when I was a lieutenant under General Wen. The panzers will be too troublesome if they enter the city and target our civilian population. These weapons need a coachman sitting inside to move them and at least one more to operate the firearms smoothly. But due to the lack of numbers, they might allot only one person to operate them. Hence, their movements will be unsteady and slow during the war. This is where we might gain an advantage. This Lu Zhen really brought upon a headache for us, commented Jai Cheng while gritting his teeth in anger. He further said, everything started because of him. I bet he is behind this invasion too, also that he could see our destruction. There is no evidence of him involved in this war except for selling weapons to Kunyu bandits. She wasn't interested to go against Mark, as the latter had the support of the Imperial Palace. Furthermore, if he could destroy the Wuji sect then, he wouldn't need Kunyu bandits to destroy your clan. So, let's focus on real factors, Lord Jai. As Jai Cheng grunted and stayed silent, Archbishop Ma asked, couldn't you have requested the list of weapons he sold to them? General Hushi shook his head. We already did that, and he replied that he cannot give the list because of the confidentiality between the seller and the client. Sui Ping then pitched in his opinion. His weapons might be revolutionary, but the ones operating are still the Kunyu bandits. There's a saying, a divine-grade sword in the hands of an amateur will lose to a copper-grade sword in the hands of a master swordsman. True, Elder Jai Wu nodded in agreement and then voiced his opinion. We should just make our move ahead of them and surprise them with a bombard of attacks. They likely only have one 7-circle spirit warrior. If he takes him and Feng Wu out, the rest don't matter whether they have amazing weapons or not. Everyone then looked at the Grand Elder of the Jai clan for his opinion. He was in deep thought, thinking about all kinds of possibilities. Just as he was about to give his nod, all of a sudden, a powerful explosion occurred far away from the palace, but due to the fact that everyone else is sleeping, it was loud enough to reach all the way to these experts. Boom! A few of these experts furrowed their brows when they heard it and looked in the direction of the sound. Little did they expect to hear sounds continue, with each one getting louder than the previous one, i.e., the successive explosions are getting near to the palace. Boom, 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 boom. More than a dozen explosions occurred all over the city in various places, destroying their surroundings and randomly killing the innocent citizens living nearby. The citizens are quickly seen running in the streets, and Mark was flying in the sky in stealth mode with a holographic screen floating before him. The holographic screen has the image of a circle with the percentage increasing slowly as the souls were flying into the sky and disappearing into the screen. 54%, 73%, 89%, 112%. Once it crossed 100, the circle stopped absorbing the souls, letting them go to the spirit realm instead. Meanwhile, the summon option appeared below the circle. He landed on the roof of a building and clicked on it. I summon you, Demon King Baal. A blinding flash of light appeared before his eyes, and a humanoid figure appeared in place of the three-headed demon, taking Mark by surprise. A Baal. Chapter 404. Western Yan has been captured. I can shapeshift into any creature. Since we are in the human world, I thought this is an apt transformation. My strength in this world appeared to be limited to that of an immortal 11 circle, and I can stay for a maximum period of 6 hours, explained Baal as he was asked about his transformation. Mark remembered the details of his abilities and nodded in understanding. He was also happy with this arrangement as it eventually becomes his advantage in the end. He said, okay, time is of the essence here. Capture everyone in the surroundings with a 6-circle realm of cultivation and above. Imprison them and bring them here. After I confirm their identities, you can have them as your meal. As for the weaker ones you encounter on the way, just knock them out. Consider it done. The demon was very much excited to do the job, as it is in his nature to do such evil deeds. Rising into the sky, Baal then looked at the city where people are running in fear and glanced at his contractor. My judgment is correct. This man will bring chaos with him, and I like it. Anyways, let's get this party started. The Demon King Baal proceeded to scan the entire city and spotted the majority of the individuals gathered at one spot. He couldn't help but lick his lips as he stared at the majestic palace from far away. There were a couple of them hiding in the city and one individual helping the others, but the demon gave priority to the spirit warriors in the Jai Palace as they were more in number and appeared tastier. Meanwhile in the palace, the clan heir Jai Guanli and his mother were house arrested by Jai Cheng, the clan patriarch. He placed several guards as their security as the Grand Elder summoned the clan members to protect the palace while the Church of Nuwa, guilds, Mt. Hua sect, and the imperial troops currently present within the city outskirts proceeded to enter the city to look for the culprits. Some of the enemies have breached our walls, and I will focus on capturing them until Feng Wu's army arrives at the city, said General Hu Shi as he was prepared to head out. The others also had jobs to supervise their subordinates or at least pass the orders to them. A couple of them also planned to head out, but all of their actions were interrupted by the appearance of a stranger who just looked like some civilian. "Who are you? How do you get inside?" Jai Cheng shouted at Baal as he saw him. General Hu Shi didn't know why, but he felt something off and quickly halted his footsteps. He was about to take out his platinum-grade sword from his storage ring, but the stranger captured his thoughts almost instantly and raised his hand. "Bone prison." Snap. As he snapped his finger with a devilish grin on his face, bones erupted from the ground out of nowhere and surrounded Hu Shi from all sides, imprisoning him. "You bastard!" Hu Shi took out the sword and slashed at the thick bone, but it even didn't leave any scratch on it, displaying its toughness. Meanwhile, the others became alerted as realization dawned upon them. An expert. Grand Elder, Jai Jiango made his move. He conjured a hot fireball in his hands and quickly fired at the stranger without any hesitation, believing they were under attack. Baal smirked as he looked at the fireball, which only has the power of a mid-7 circle. "My servants of the darkness, arise." Baal unleashed another ability of his. In an instant, skeletons rose from the ground one after another. The fireball hit one of them but didn't do any damage, and there were 10 such skeletons in the room. A necromancer with 9 circle cultivation. The same thought came to all of them as their eyes fell on the skeletons, and instantly, the imprisoned general take out his communication talisman and sent a message to Supreme Commander Bai Zun. The demon overlooked it, as he wasn't instructed to keep an eye on the humans' actions after they were imprisoned. Once the undead skeletons heavily injured the targets, they were also imprisoned in a bone prison before all of those prisons started floating in the air, following the demon. Baal returned to the same spot in just 5 minutes with the prisoners. Mark felt amazed at first, but then thought that it is obvious these 6-circle and 7-circle experts are no match for the Demon King, who had the power of an immortal at the moment. Due to the lack of sunlight, the prisoners couldn't see Mark, and the light from the fire caused by explosions from far away was quite dim. All they could see is a blurry figure. Jai Cheng went on to threaten Mark without knowing his identity. "Free us, you mixed egg bastard, or else you will pay for the consequences." Mark ignored him for a moment and looked at Baal. "Are these all?" Baal shook his head. There were 3 more. "Then bring them here too." Mark gave his order and focused on his prisoners. The audacity of a human to order a higher being like a servant amused the demon instead of offending him. As a demon king, he was just fond of all the bad traits in his contractors. "All right, but don't kill them. They are my food." Baal didn't forget to remind Mark of his earlier order and flew away. Mark then went on to activate God's Eye skill, which was upgraded from Sage's Eye after the system came online. Its function remains the same, except that no one would be able to hide their information now. After getting to know their details, he thought, Church of Nuwa, Mt. Hua sect, Jai clan, and a new northern general, everyone gathered in one spot. Good, very good, let's keep one as a hostage. Meanwhile at Imperial City, Emperor Shang Fu was sleeping soundly in his room, but his happy dream whatever it might be, disappeared as he was forced to wake up early in the morning. Not again. Shang Fu complained, as this was the fourth time his sleep was disturbed in the past 6 months. The fact there were such frequent urgent situations kept on occurring at such unusual times which require his attention only mean not everything is right in the Empire. "Come in." After giving permission for the guard to enter the room, Shang Fu slowly got up. The Imperial Guard reported the matter to the Emperor without leaving any detail. And without any surprise, the Emperor was shocked by the report and spoke, "Pass the message to Bai Zun that I want him at the palace this instant. I'm also calling for an emergency assembly." "Your Majesty." The Imperial Guard hurriedly left the room and went to inform the Emperor's orders to his superior, who passed it to the chief eunuch, who had the means of communication with Bai Zun, the generals, and the ministers. And within 45 minutes, everyone arrived at the courtroom and took their seat. "I bet all of you must have already been informed of what's going on in Western Yan," said Emperor Shang, with a look of frown on his face. "Feng Wu declared the war without giving off any prior notification. Nai Raogang showcased his loyalty by trying to be angry. How dare those traitors to try to invade our empire? They must be hanged to death, Your Majesty." "But why now?" asked Lin Wang in wonder. "What is it that made them confident to wage a war when there were a bunch of experts openly waiting for them? Is there a stronger expert in their midst?" Bai Zun then asked, "What about the updates from the Jai clan?" "They might be currently engaging with that unknown expert," opinioned the Grand Secretariat. "The message we received from Western Yan is just through captains." "Are they even alive?" The third prince was feeling suspicious of the state of the allies. Emperor Shang then said, "I have yet to speak everything. About 45 minutes ago, Chief Eunuch had received a message from General Hu through the communication talisman." As the rest of the ministers turned their heads to look at the guy standing beside the emperor, the eunuch informed them, "Before even the war started, an unknown enemy intruded into the Jai palace and attacked everyone. According to General Hu, the enemy is suspected to be a supreme realm warrior and can summon the undead. He is a necromancer. Everyone has been taken as hostages by the time Feng Wu reached the city with his army, equipped with Lu Zhen's weapons and armored vehicles." Chapter 405, A Letter to Emperor Shang. "Oh shit, Prince Wei's suspicion is true." The Grand Secretariat was taken aback, and so were the others. Panic struck a few ministers as they heard of the existence of a supreme realm expert. Song Clan's current head spoke in a hurry. "We have to send ancestor Song Tai to deal with them. Does anyone have any instant means of communication with him?" As everyone shook his head, Lin Wang spoke, "Or we can take Lu Zhen's help." "Are you serious, Lin Wang?" Nai Raogang flared up when Lin Zhu's father suggested the name. As a person who was on the side of the Crown Prince and Jai clan, he took the opportunity to put allegations against Mark. Lu Zhen kidnapped Jai clan's heir and handed him to the Kunyu bandits to take revenge. He stole Song Yue away from Jai Minjiu when he was supposed to wed her. He sold those weapons to Kunyu bandits who were using them to murder our civilians. And I strongly suspect he is also behind Kunyu bandits as of now. After all, you have heard the reports. A Supreme Realm expert attacked the Jai Palace. I remember Lu Zhen had a Supreme Being as his servant. Don't you think it is likely both are the same person? In this situation, do you want to take his help? Ridiculous." Lin Wang became silent as he couldn't counter that. He doesn't actually want to defend Mark at the moment as he had the same suspicion. However, the Emperor doesn't think so. He immediately scolded Nai Raogang before anyone else react to it. "Don't speak based on speculations, Minister Nai. He is a friend of the imperial family. Insulting him is the same as insulting this throne." Nai Raogang realized that the Emperor was unhappy, and he quickly apologized for his statements before saying that he didn't have any other logical explanation. Shang Fu snorted and told the rest to get on to the original topic and discuss the best course of action. In the end, Bai Zun suggested the assassination of Feng Wu. followed by inciting a rebellion from the citizens, until we surround them with our troops and let Song Tai take care of that mysterious expert. Everyone seemed to agree with his suggestion, but the emperor stayed silent. He dislikes such underhanded methods for the sake of victory, and hence, there is hesitation to give the answer. After a lot of thinking, he turned to his son and asked, "Shang Wei, you are my special advisor. Tell me if there is a better plan than sacrificing innocents." As if he already had a plan in his mind, the third prince readily answered as he got up from his seat, "Your Majesty, there is one which doesn't involve bloodshed." As everyone curiously looked at the third prince, the latter spoke, "We give up Western Yan on the condition that Feng Wu and his army remain loyal to the throne." "What?" Niraogang opposed it immediately. He raised his voice at the third prince, "Prince Wei, whose side you are on? You want our Majesty to admit defeat against those bandits and give away our land. Do you know how big it even is? It's over 260,000 km. Even the Supreme Commander Bai Zun opposed the plan. The war against the Feng clan took the lives of thousands of soldiers. Giving it away will not be a humiliation to our soldiers, but also a betrayal to our citizens there. Furthermore, the enemy's strength hasn't been confirmed yet. It was only mere speculation from General Hu. If he is a legendary realm expert, then we can win this war without a problem." Shang Wei folded his hands and leaned to the backrest as he argued, "Supreme Commander Bai, Minister Nai, both of your arguments are true, but it is also a fact that we won't have much support from the civilians, as the land was originally ruled by the Feng clan for hundreds of years anyways. Whether Jai clan rules it or Feng Wu rules, does it really matter as long as he swears loyalty to his Majesty? If they can't compromise on it, we can proceed with the assassination of Feng Wu, followed by giving asylum to the bandits and their families to start a new life. As the great scholar Sun Tzu said, the greatest victory is that which requires no battle." Shang Wei then looked at his father and said, "His Majesty asked my advice and I gave my opinion. We follow your orders whatever they may be." Emperor Shang felt that his son is right, and he was about to agree to his proposition for the sake of peace, but before he did that, a soldier scurried forward and informed everyone that Feng Wu's messenger is waiting for permission to enter. Soon, the former fatty merchant and a nervous freak, Hu Fen, walked into the courtroom with his head held high in confidence. Strangely, he was already in the five-circle realm. Only he and Feng Wu know how it happened. Halting his footsteps at the center of the court, Hu Fen calmly greeted the emperor and raised his palms to display a scroll. "Your Majesty, His Highness Feng Wu has sent a letter to you." The chief eunuch took the scroll and read it aloud. "Dear Emperor Fu of the Shang dynasty, with the greatest pleasure, we're informing you that our Kunyu royal force has successfully captured Gong City and imprisoned the general named Hu Shi, Jai clan heir, and Jai Cheng's wife along with more than 1,500 soldiers of your army. Western Yan gained its independence, and we would like to stay that way as we once did. 7 days from now, there will be an official coronation ceremony taking place at Gong City, and the Phoenix Empire is welcome to send its delegate for wishing our new king. We also hope to receive a formal acknowledgement from Phoenix Empire for the sake of peaceful relations. If you chose peace, Western Yan is willing to forget past grudges. As a gesture of goodwill, we will release all the war prisoners. In exchange, the soldiers of the Phoenix Empire will also leave our land. And of course, we would also welcome enmity too. In that case, we will act accordingly. Hopping for a positive response, yours sincerely, Prince Wu of the Feng dynasty." Everyone except for Shang Fu rose to their feet in anger. The emperor, on the other hand, tightly grabbed the handle and showed heavy restraint in order to keep his image in front of the messenger. He gestured for everyone to sit down. As they took their seats, Shang Fu tried to be as calm as possible as he dealt with the matter. "Return and inform your king that I will give him 3 days of time. Release the hostages, make a proper apology to the victims along with the announcement of compensation, and swear his loyalty to the throne. I will allow him to rule Western Yan with a certain degree of freedom. If he doesn't, the Phoenix Empire will formally take it as an act of war and retaliate in our own way. I'm sorry, but can you please provide me an official letter with everything you have said written on it? Huo Fen refused to deliver the message through the mouth, as he was afraid of the scheming politician sitting in the courtroom. He might show his confidence due to the fact that Feng Wu managed to reclaim his kingdom, but he was still afraid of death. He doesn't want to get caught in the middle of all of this. Shang Fu's face turned beet red, and his veins popped up because of his rage, but he managed to put it under control and asked for the scroll. After a while, Huo Fen bowed and then turned around to walk away with the letter. Once he is out of sight, Emperor Shang finally showed his real emotions. He couldn't low down his voice as he roared with flames erupting from his body. A mere messenger of bandits dares to say that he doesn't trust my words. A bandit dared to threaten me with hostages. Who do they think they are? Just because I'm showing lenience, those bandits think that I'm weak. Shang Fu stared at the startled officials of his and spoke in a powerful tone. I don't care what sort of busy plans they have, but the 3 remaining generals, retired generals, guild leaders, sect leaders, and lastly, the clan leaders have to be at the palace within 36 hours. Your Majesty. The ministers and Bai Zun felt like they were seeing their aggressive emperor of the past days. As a result, everyone's morale received a huge boost. Chapter 406, Assassination Attempt on Zai Mei. Jai Palace, Gong City, Western Yan. In the palace, Mark and a few higher-rank members of Kunyu bandits took their seats in the place where that earlier meeting Jai clan held it. Behind Mark, the demon was standing like a loyal servant to keep up appearances, although he was the strongest person here. He doesn't have a thing such as an ego when he is summoned, so no harm is being done here. Okay, the sun is about to rise, and I need to return to prevent any unnecessary suspicions. Any problem, just send me a message, Mark said to everyone as he rose to his feet. As the others got up their seats too, Feng Wu slightly bowed in respect. Once again, thank you for your help, Owner Lu. I never expected to go our war this smooth. No mention, Mark smiled as he waved his hand. He further added, you have to be careful. People don't know that Feng Chun is the real king, and before your enemies know the truth, they would think that you are going to be the king and will likely try to assassinate you during these 7 days. You are on your own for that. I know. Feng Wu nodded seriously. It was also the reason he was very careful to keep the existence of his nephew a secret, the former king's only grandchild. Soon, Mark equipped the exo-suit and flew away from the palace, landing in a remote location. As Bale also landed before him, Mark gave his next order. I need you to go to my home and protect the girl named Zai Mei from the shadows. The place is named Genesis Weapon Store. You can find your way by hypnotizing any soldier stationed in the city. As for your mission, keep an eye on her until someone attacks her. If that happens, you should capture them and send a telepathic message. Consider it done. Bale promised to do the task, and Mark opened up a portal and walked into it, returning to Helios City, although finding himself in the outskirts. Nevertheless, he used the tracking system to track Alan's location at the royal palace. With GPS sort of function, he made it to the royal palace and used the stealth ability of the suit and quickly got to his room by flying up to the 2nd floor and getting in through the window, all in a matter of just 30 seconds of time. Throwing away the suit in inventory, he collapsed on the bed to have some sleep. Meanwhile, in the imperial city of Phoenix Empire, a group of masked individuals made their way through the streets, evading the soldiers who are patrolling around. They were 4 in number. I'm excited about this mission, you know, said a masked individual as they entered the outer sector where commoners live, and where there is almost no patrolling because of the invasion. His hoarse voice and his words don't match at all, but no one complained as they were used to it. One of them with the codename Viper replied, Panther, just because you are a summoner doesn't mean Griffin will submit to you. But I have the greatest chance, right? Countered the guy codenamed Panther. Before Mark and Alan left for the Eastern Sun Kingdom, the android was met with a guild member who surprisingly knows something about soul. While the information is useless because it was already something Mark indirectly learned from Shang Wei, Mark figured out that this fellow named Li Ming is pretty much close to Nai Raogang, and confirmed that this revenue minister knows a way to contact them. Bribing him with 500 gold coins to keep his identity a secret, Alan gave him the letter, a pouch with more than 100,000 gold coins, another pouch with 10,000 gold coins, and another scroll with a mission written on it. Li Ming gave them to Nai Raogang. The letter contained a message stating that he would have to deliver the mission to Soul Organization with the advance in a big pouch. The smaller one with 10,000 gold coins is his commission for doing the job. Now, whether Li Ming does his job, whether Nai Raogang does his job, or they betray because of their greed for gold is something Mark had to take a leap of faith. But faith is something Mark lacks. Hence, he made sure to attach a postscript where he threatened Nai Raogang that in the event of betrayal, his name will be given to private assassins. And for that, the employer Mark wouldn't hesitate to spend another 100,000. As for the mission, Soul Organization will have to kill Zai Mei when she is out of protection from Lu Zhen, Mark. She should die and her body should disappear while a letter should be left behind stating her departure. Mark didn't forget to give her details and the abilities he knew. Along with 1 million gold coins as a reward for doing the job, he also mentioned that the girl has Griffin as her contracted beast. If they kill her, they can capture the Beast Emperor and take it with them as their prize too. The Griffin might be a Beast Emperor, but it is still a baby with only the strength of a 5-circle realm. For legendary realm experts, it shouldn't be difficult to defeat it. That was the thing that attracted Soul Organization the most, and not just 1 or 2, but 4 members were deployed for the mission. Soon, they reached the weapon store and are looking for a way to enter. Having the knowledge of the store's suppression inside, they knew that breaking into the store and killing her would be an impossible task. Hence, they decided to draw her out. As the rest of the 3 went into hiding and suppressed their cultivation realm, the sole woman member of the team, codenamed Peafowl, took out her mask and lowered her hood, walked toward the store, and knocked loudly on the shutter until it was opened by a teenager. Zai Mei was half asleep as she looked at the person. "What is it?" she asked while letting out a yawn. The woman grabbed Zai Mei's hands as if she was in a huge problem and is in a hurry. "My husband was bitten by stray dogs on the way and bleeding. No one is opening the doors. Please help me." "Stray dogs, it's weird. Anyways, bring him inside. I know how to save him," replied Zai Mei. "Thank you so much." The woman shed tears as she grabbed her hands before saying, "Please come with me. He is lying there." She pointed in some random direction. Zai Mei didn't think too much at first and followed her, but after walking a few steps, she then asked curiously, "May I ask how it happened?" "We are traveling merchants from northern Yuan province. On our way, we met with a pack of mad stray dogs. They attacked our bullock for no reason. My husband protected me and shooed them away, but in the process, he was bitten a lot." The woman narrated a story in a brief manner while taking away the girl from the store. However, Zai Mei felt odd even in that story. She couldn't help but say, "I'm sorry, but there should be no stray dogs in our district or the surroundings. I heard that a while ago, all of those stray animals like dogs, cats, goats, and pigs were captured because of the inconvenience they caused to our store and our customers." The woman stopped walking and turned around. She wiped the tears and let out a smile. "Well, I didn't know that. If I had known, I would have used a better excuse." "What do you mean?" Zai Mei furrowed her brows. "Who are you?" 3 figures simultaneously landed around her. Panther spoke. "Well, let's just say you're Grim Reapers." Zai Mei instantly realized that they were trying to assassinate her, as Mark was no longer in the city. Zai Mei quickly used a significant portion of her ether energy and expelled it through her body in all directions. The assassins didn't expect it and were hit by the sudden attack. They blasted away a few meters and crashed onto the ground, giving space for Zai Mei to escape. "Iffy," she shouted at the top of her lungs as she leaped into the air. A powerful screech echoed in the surroundings before the griffin woke up. flapped its wings, and flew into the sky. It happened so fast that even the assassins didn't expect their target to perfectly land on her mount's back by the time they get up and take out their weapons. "We can't let her escape," said the woman codenamed Peafowl. However, the response came from nowhere, startling everyone. "You have to worry about yourselves, humans." Chapter 407, Capturing the Assassins. The voice of a stranger from nowhere startled everyone. Even Zai Mei, who was prepared to break her vow and use the bow due to an emergency, got surprised by the new entry. Soon, the demon materialized himself and appeared before the assassins. "Who are you?" As they felt nothing from the Demon King, they were more alert. Bale smiled in response. "Well, who am I is of no importance. What's important here is that you aren't here to assassinate the girl but to give answers. Kill him." The leader of the group, codenamed Falcon, ordered the others. As they tightly gripped their daggers and were about to charge at their new target, Bale snapped his fingers and all of a sudden, large bones looking like tusks erupted from the ground and pierced each of them in their legs or thighs. "Aja!" The four assassins of the seven-circle realm screamed in pain as their movements are halted. Zai Mei was stunned by the sudden move from her savior, and she continued to stare from above. Meanwhile, Bale used Bone Prison once again to imprison everyone during the next few seconds and spoke to them. "Now, shall we go?" Bale slowly flew higher, and so were the four bone prisons, while the trapped assassins were trying their best to escape, but couldn't do it. Even their teleportation scroll is not working inside the bone prison. As the Demon King was about to fly away, Zai Mei shouted, "Wait!" But Bale didn't stop. Zai Mei ordered the griffin to follow him. After blocking his way for a moment, she thanked him and asked his name. Bale waved his hand in response. "As I have said earlier, my name is of no importance here. If you want to thank someone, you can thank Lu Zhen because he was the one who gave me this mission, although he was also the one who used you as bait to draw them out." "Eh? I'm the bait?" Zai Mei was shocked again. When she heard Bale's first half of the sentence, she thought Mark was looking after her, but the latter half of the sentence made her realize why she was left behind. She couldn't help but ask, "Who are they?" Bale shrugged his shoulders. "Who knows? You can ask Lu Zhen by yourself. I'm going to Kunyu Mountains to meet him. You can tag along if you want." "Isn't he at Eastern Sun?" Zai Mei was once again surprised by the Demon King's words. She looked at him warily. After being fooled once, she couldn't trust a stranger's words despite the fact that he helped him. Bale understood what she was thinking and he didn't mind it. "If you don't want to come, then don't. You can still wait for his return and then ask him the questions. I'm leaving." Zai Mei thought for a bit and made her decision, realizing that if this stranger is strong enough to defeat those assassins of the seven-circle realm with such ease, then he could kill her any time he wants. "Wait, I'll come with you," she said. The Demon King took her along with the four prisoners to Mt. Lan, where the ruins of the land sect are located. He could directly go to Eastern Sun, and it wouldn't even take a minute for him to cover the distance, but Mark decided Mt. Lan as the place to interrogate them. After reaching the place, he sent a message and waited. And it didn't take long for a portal to appear and for Mark to walk out of it. The latter wasn't informed about Zai Mei's presence and hence was taken aback when he saw her standing beside the Demon King. Naturally, he didn't like it. "What are you doing here?" Mark furrowed his brows in displeasure. Zai Mei replied, "To get the answers." Mark meaningfully looked at the demon, as if he was asking, "What mischief is this?" Bale shrugged his shoulders calmly in response. "You never said that I shouldn't bring her with me." Mark wanted to get angry at him, but the Demon King is useful to him in many ways. Hence, he clenched his fist and controlled his annoyance before speaking to the 15-year-old. "I need to draw out the members of the Soul organization to interrogate a certain matter, but I can't put my loved ones in danger. Hence, I used you." Mark said it in a way without using any apologetic tone, hoping to use this situation to get rid of her. Seeing the look of shock on her face, he further said coldly, "I will do it again without hesitation even in the future. This is one of the risks you will have to bear if you want to live with me, along with facing unexpected assassination attempts. But why save me? Zai Mei was intelligent enough to understand the hidden meaning behind Mark's words. However, Mark underestimated her willpower and determination. Before he gave her the answer, she answered her own question. It's because I'm your guest and you hold yourself responsible for my safety, isn't it? Mark's face darkened, feeling like he failed to get rid of her. I have my own principles that I follow. After a brief pause, he added, I'm not a god. Just because I believe in something, that doesn't mean I would accomplish it without fail. Indirectly, he was saying that he cannot save her all the time and today is just an exception. However, the determined teenager responded positively and even put him in a difficult spot with a surprising question. I guess I should work hard then. By the way, I need a weapon to protect myself. Since I gave the bow because of you and since you said I'm suited for firearms, I guess I will have to depend on you to lend me one. As you said earlier, there will be future assassination attempts on me. I should protect myself. Well, Mark was stumped for a second by her request, but it is also a fact that he is responsible to give up the bow. He also agreed to let her live with him, and he also put her in danger. So, he thought she was logically right and it shouldn't be a big deal to give an ether weapon. Fine, I will give you one. Just as he thought about giving her an ether sniper rifle that can be used by her, Zai Mei reminded him, I will soon make a breakthrough to 7th Circle, by the way. All right, wait here for a while. Mark promised her and shifted his focus to the unconscious prisoners. Baal, can you seal their cultivations? He asked the Demon King. The latter replied by shaking his head. I'm not good at sealing techniques, but I can destroy their cultivations though. It's even better, do it. Mark gave his permission to act. The Demon King let out a smile as he raised his hand. With my pleasure. Concentrated demonic energy erupted from Baal's right palm before taking the form of 4 sabers. He released the bone prisons and attacked them. The 4 assassins woke up with a painful scream and continued to scream as the demonic energy was attacking their spirit core while destroying their cells. Unlike Mark, who had gone through gene mutation and don't need a spirit core to cultivate, the cultivators' spirit warriors of this planet were born with spirit cores, and they enhance these cores through constant training or absorbing energy from third-party sources and refining them. This is also why their spirit path and attribute are fixed and cannot be changed, unlike Mark, who can just have multiple attributes and spirit paths professions. As the respective spirit cores of the assassins were destroyed, turning them into mortal civilians, Mark walked toward them. Lu Zhen, this. The assassins just went through hell, but upon seeing Mark, they felt like their death is near. However, none of them begged for death as they were already dead inside with the loss of cultivation. They lost their will to live and were not afraid to die, and Mark wasn't interested to deliver their death so soon. Taking out a handgun from his inventory, Mark pointed it at the woman first. Now, Ms. Huang Jiang of Qilin Empire, we shall start with you. The woman's eyes widened in shock when her name and homeland is revealed by Mark. Even her teammates don't have any idea. Mark didn't care to explain himself and proceeded with the interrogation. Now, I will ask a question. I hope I won't be disappointed. 10 years ago, your organization took an assignment related to Huatang village. The names of the victims are Lu Yimu and Yizexi. The incident is disguised as burglary. Now, who is the client? Chapter 408, Threatening the Assassin. As soon as they heard Mark's words, 3 of them looked confused, and the 4th one tried his best to keep a poker face. One can control their expression, but their heartbeat isn't easy to control perfectly. At least not when one is taken aback because of an unexpected question. I don't know, replied the woman, codenamed Peafowl in the meantime. Even if I know, I won't answer you. She was telling the truth, commented the Demon King before pointing his index finger at the eldest of the 4. Lu Zhen, this fellow knows it. There was a momentary spike of his heartbeat. Is that so? Then she is of no use to me. Mark responded to the Demon King by clicking on the trigger without hesitation. The bullet left the gun and pierced the woman's forehead, taking everyone by surprise. She fell to the ground and became a corpse. The middle-aged-looking fellow's heart spiked up again when he saw that before he convinced himself to stay strong and prepare for death. Mark passed through the two in the middle and stood before the guy. Looking coldly at him, he raised the gun and pointed it toward the youngest of them, the one with the code name Panther. Now, this was a warning shot just to show you what this beauty can do to mortals. The team leader codename, Scarlet Tiger, spat onto the ground and replied, "We were afraid of neither death nor torture. Kill them for all I care." "Fine, let's see how much willpower you have." Mark clicked the trigger 2 times in a row, ending the lives of his remaining teammates too. Scarlet Tiger aka Liu Xing remained unmoved by their deaths. As he stayed silent, Mark pointed the gun at his shoulder and shot the bullet. A sharp pain struck Liu Xing, but he managed to bear the pain and looked straight at the horizon. Bang, 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 bang. 4 more bullets were shot one after another, one at his left shoulder, one at his left thigh, one at his right thigh, and the last one at his abdomen region. The blood was oozing out of his body, and Liu Xing was feeling dizzy along with pain all over his body, but he refused to speak. The Demon King watched the scene with curiousness. He wanted to know what his contractor will do next. The irritated Mark kicked Liu Xing's abdomen. As the latter fell down, Mark pressed his leg against the bullet wound and said, "Give me the name I want and I will give you a painless death. Don't waste my time or else, I swear that you will wish for your death." Bearing his pain, Liu Xing forced out the words in response, "You have made a big mistake, young man. The moment you destroyed our cultivation, I have already lost my fear of death. There is nothing that can scare me." "What if I use your family members to threaten you? You won't get scared even then," asked Mark, resorting to using the half-baked information to his advantage. Liu Xing's eyes widened for a moment before he let out a fake laugh. "I don't have a family." The Demon King sensed the change in Liu Xing's heartbeat and secretly informed Mark through their telepathic connection. Mark, who realized that Liu Xing has a weakness, went on to use his Eyes of God skill once again. Compared to the Sage Eyes, the upgraded skill has more details, especially the description. He couldn't help but smirk and said, "Is that so? Then let me tell you about someone I know. His name is Liu Xing and he is from..." Liu Xing. Codename Scarlet Tiger. Rank NA. Age 68. Affiliation: Phoenix Empire, Dragon Empire former. Description: Liu Xing used to be Honglong Province's governor. After a feud with an imperial prince, he lost his position and fame, and all of his assets were forcibly taken by the imperial palace. He assassinated the prince, escaped to Phoenix Empire with his wife, daughter, and son-in-law, and joined the Soul Organization. Due to an incident in his latest mission, he lost his cultivation and turned into Immortal. After speaking out what he had read in the description, he then said, "I don't know whether you have a grandchild or not, but in order to fulfill my revenge, I will not hesitate to break my principles and torture all of your family members, including the children right in front of your eyes. I will pluck off each of their nails, then cut off their fingers, hands, and legs while my dear friend here will recover their limbs before I repeat the process again and again." As Zai Mei closed her mouth in shock, the Demon King was smiling in amusement, and Liu Xing was finally shivering in fear as he was imagining the scene. Mark looked straight into his eyes and further said, "We don't have any enmity. Don't make it into one. Or else, you will know the true terror. Let me tell you about a few incidents that occurred in my life. Some arrogant noble insulted my sibling. So, I killed that noble and attacked their clan, making them pay the compensation. Then their backing, the Sui clan, tried to do the same. They faced the same result. In another incident, a minister of the empire insulted me and demanded an apology by falling onto my knees to save myself. As a result, I blew up their mansion located in the heart of the city and sent him into a coma. Then the emperor asked me to deliver him the seed of fire for his son. I promised him. To fulfill my end of the deal, I killed everyone who got near my prize. There were a lot of 8 Circle Realm experts on it. Poor Iron Palm sect almost lost their strength by half because of that. Recently, when I was on a vacation, I encountered a pitiful teenage couple who faced an ambush from their rival sect and lost their comrade. For the sake of a promise to that couple, I entered a tournament and killed the culprit right in front of her patriarch. When her patriarch attempted to attack me and further threatened me with words, I destroyed his whole sect. You must have heard of Wuji sect's doom or read in the newspapers too. There are other incidents to say, but I think you understood the point. All of those victims, I don't have too much personal enmity with them as I have with the person who gave the assignment to you. He killed my parents. This one was too personal for me. I will not hesitate to kill 1,000,000 innocents to punish that culprit. Now, if you give me the name, I will not touch your family, or else. Mark didn't finish his sentence and quietly stared at Liu Exing, who already started sweating. There is a reason why the Seoul organization didn't take up the assignment from Nai Raogang and the Crown Prince regarding the assassination of Mark. They knew he is strong, but only now Liu Exing realized that he is also more ruthless than he expected. As a person who killed several people, Liu Exing could see Mark contained a tremendous amount of darkness and also have the eyes of a murderer. He could see Mark really meant what he said. Unknown to him, the 9 points of Mark's charm made his words more convincing to the listener. Therefore, putting aside his work ethic, Liu Exing spoke, "I will say it, but don't touch my family." "I promise." Mark maintained his seriousness, hiding his real feelings of excitement. "Tell me." Liu Exing explained, 10 years ago, we got an assignment to kill your parents as well as their secret guard sent by the imperial family. But we also have to make sure that you don't die. While I assassinated the guard, your parents were murdered by my partner. We have a request to make it look like a burglary." We did as we were requested. However, my partner, codenamed Crimson Lion, was killed by Bai Zun in another mission we did 5 years ago. He wasn't alive anymore. Bang! A bullet was fired from Mark's gun as he was irritated again due to Liu Exing's lengthy explanation. It pierced the right side of his abdomen, a bone of the ribcage, barely missing the liver. As Liu Exing let out a painful scream, Mark growled, "I don't want to know all this bullshit. Give me the fucking name of the one who gives you the assignment. Who is it?" "Grand Secretariat Li Zhen Kang," Liu Exing revealed the name, taking Mark by surprise. "That fellow, why?" "We don't ask the reasons," replied Liu Exing while breathing heavily. He looked like he was going to pass out at any moment. Mark turned his head to meaningfully look at the Demon King, who was enjoying the scene. The latter nodded without being asked any questions. "He is telling the truth." "Then that's good," Mark nodded. Bang! Chapter 409, Attack on the Imperial Palace. Once Liu Exing lost his usefulness, Mark killed him, stole their weapons, loot their storage rings, before throwing all 4 corpses into an empty storage ring of his. The storage ring was further dismantled for credits, while destroying their corpses for good. "So, what now?" asked Zai Mei in a bit of worry. The teenager might not who Li Zhen Kang is, but she was aware that a Grand Secretariat is one of the most powerful men within an empire in terms of authority. Attacking him is the same as announcing a war against the emperor. Mark replied with clear signs of anger on his face. "Now, it's time for the Grand Secretariat to pay for his crimes. However, I don't think he is the mastermind, for he gains nothing from killing my parents. There is someone from the imperial family that ordered or requested him to do so. I need that name. Bale, go to Imperial City once again and search for your next target of abduction. I'm transmitting my thoughts to you in the form of an image. Bring him here without killing anyone. Just knocking them out would be fine. And also, take the girl with you and drop her at our home." Mark passed his next order to the Demon King, using his services as much as he wants to, without any hesitation. Since it is going to be another bad thing to do, Bale agreed to do it readily and went on to grab Zai Mei's arm as well as touch the head of the griffin. "Wait." Zai Mei stopped him for a moment and looked at Mark in a bit of worry. "I know that you are strong enough to topple the Empire, but I hope you also thought of the consequences. Doing this will make you an evil person in the eyes of society." My grandfather said that if a majority of people are on your side, you will become a hero, but if they are against you, you will become a villain and heroes will emerge from the public to defeat you. The more you resist the heroes, the more you become infamous. There's no backing from there. And eventually, there comes a day when you will fall and no one will come to support you. Think about it once again. Mark knew what he was going to do, and he wasn't interested to make Zai may understand his emotions or thoughts. He dismissed her with a wave of his hand. I'm not forcing you to stay on my side. You can leave if you want. Baal will drop you and your griffin at Zionchu sect. Zai Mei didn't know what else to speak to this stubborn fellow, as she took a vow to herself that she won't leave his side at all costs like a dutiful wife would be. In her opinion, she could only reply to him to be careful before disappearing with the demon. After dropping the teenager at Genesis Weapon Store, Baal fly higher into the sky up to 1 km of altitude and scan the entire city using his senses. Found it. Baal looked in the direction of a majestic palace located in the heart of the city. Even though his maximum power was restricted greatly, with the peak stage Immortal realm power, he managed to find his target in mere 6 seconds of time. The demon then flew toward the imperial palace, alerting a certain queen consort when he landed right in front of the entrance door and knocked out the door guards. Fearlessly, he walked into the imperial palace and started walking in the direction where he sensed the presence of his target. Meanwhile, in the courtroom, Emperor Shang was still in the middle of a meeting with his ministers, the Grand Secretariat, Bai Zun, and the Third Prince. None of them were aware of what was going on outside, as there is a noise-canceling barrier placed within the room to make sure no spies are listening to their conversation in secret. And at the moment, the Third Prince and Ni Raogang were arguing about a matter. Minister Nai, don't try to evade it. We have proof that your clan secretly acquired a new type of weapon in several numbers from the Dwarven Kingdom. However, the Dwarven King isn't aware of it. Your actions are quite suspicious. Shang Wei accused Nai Raogang on the grounds of corruption, deceit, and rebellion. He further demanded the minister in donating those weapons to the Imperial Army so that they may be deployed to the border and take down the Kunyu bandits' battle tanks. This matter was brought up by Lin Weiying when Nai Raogang talked about the Imperial Palace allocating more funds and setting up a war donation box so that the citizens can also contribute to this war without actively participating in the war. The revenue minister stressed that this is a better way than raising the taxes. As Lin Weiying brought it up, Shang Wei used this matter to his advantage. When Ni Raogang refused to hand over them as it is considered private property, Shang Wei countered that the minister can use them against the imperial palace when the army is busy at the border fighting a war. He also pointed out how it is weird for the Nai clan to gather such funds to buy those expensive weapons, and that too, high in number. In response, Nai Raogang almost roared in anger. Lies. Our clan served the throne for more than 1,700 years. We were also one of the few clans who stood behind the founder while unifying this southern land. Don't dare question our loyalty. We won't sit and listen quietly even if you are a prince. Seeing Nai Raogang agitated by his allegations, Shang Wei leaned back a bit with a smile on his face. If you cannot donate them or even sell them, then you should have no problem lending them to the Imperial Army. Supreme Commander Bai just now mentioned that if we want to defeat them, we need to attack them at the same time. Each of those cannons can shoot targets from more than 1,000 meters away. We can surely surprise the enemies with an all-out attack. But it is not just our soldiers and Jai clan's main family who are kept as hostages. There are hundreds of thousands of citizens too, commented the Han clan's patriarch. Is His Majesty really want to go ahead with the war? The Minister of War is clearly against the war. He wanted peaceful negotiations. However, the Emperor is very angry. He sharply stared at the War Minister. I would have settled for peace if that Feng Wu hadn't threatened us. His arrogance will be his downfall. And we don't have to worry about the citizens, Minister Han. Shang Wei made him understand that Feng Wu looked at all the citizens of Western Yan as his own citizens and had a bit of emotional attachment to them. Bai Zun then voiced his opinion. The killing of soldiers will only give us the reason to go all out against them. They clearly don't want that either. Hence, it is just an empty. Perhaps the only lives we have to worry about are that of the Jai clan. If we could just manage to save Jai Cheng and Jai Guanli, we could proceed with the all-out attack, but not without Song Tai and other experts of the Eight Circle realm. And while they were distracted, our assassin will have to make sure to poison Feng. SSSSSSA. Just as Bai Zun was about to complete his sentence, all of a sudden, the walls were completely frozen in ice. Everyone got up from their seats in a bit of confusion. But in the next second, the floor and the ceiling were also frozen in ice. What the hell is going on? An ambush. Ice. It's Lu Zhen. How is that possible? The ambassador confirmed Lu Zhen's presence at Eastern Sun yesterday. I cannot sense anything outside this room. As various murmurings filled the place, the emperor roared, "Who is it?" "Your Majesty, let me take care of it." Bai Zun quickly summoned his semi-divine bow and conjured an energy arrow. He shot at the place where the door was supposed to be located. The arrow struck the ice but couldn't even scratch it, making everyone's face dark. Even Bai Zun was shocked and turned his head to look at Shang Fu. "Your Majesty, my power cannot destroy this. We are trapped for good." "Not really, Supreme Commander Bai. Let me try." The third prince stepped forward. Chapter 410, Xia Dynasty's Terracotta Army. He walked toward the ice wall and then closed his eyes, raising his hands. Bright flames escaped his palms and took the shape of a large bird before rushing toward its target. In the impacted region, ice slowly started melting. Some of the ministers who were in Shang Wei's support were impressed by the bloodline skill. They were about to praise him, but the melting ice recovered its solid state once again, throwing everyone into despair once again. Shang Wei turned around and looked at his father. "Your Majesty, if you and I work together and unleash our bloodline skills, we could open the way." Shang Fu nodded immediately. "All right." Soon as the others backed away, the father and son duo unleashed their respective bloodline skills of the same type. Bloodline skill, the Arc of Inferno. Bloodline skill, the Arc of Inferno. Shang Fu used the sword and slashed at empty air, generating flames in the form of an arc and affecting a wide area. On the other hand, the third prince used his staff to slam the floor with the bottom of the handle. The effects were just the same, although less powerful than the former. Including the frozen floor, everything within the affected region melted, and everyone saw the door. However, the ice appeared to have self-healing power. Just as it was about to recover its previous state, Bai Zun acted quickly by firing an energy arrow and destroying the door while everyone made their run toward the exit without knowing that it wasn't a prison but some sort of protective barrier. They even managed to get out successfully, only to see unconscious soldiers on the floor all around the corridor, in the same places they were stationed. Along with it, there was a huge hole made in the ceiling of the corridor, going all the way to the top. It only means that someone blasted through the walls continuously for 4 floors and escaped. What just happened here? Shang Fu couldn't help but ask in wonder. "I will inquire about it, Your Majesty," replied Bai Zun. Meanwhile, in the skies far above the imperial city, 2 figures were seen battling against each other. Every time they clashed, powerful waves were generated, but thankfully, they were far high enough that those waves aren't reaching the city. A couple of minutes later, after another clash, they separated and looked at each other. One appeared to be enjoying himself, while the other one already had signs of tiredness despite the fact that only 3 minutes have passed. Letting out a pleasant smile, Bale spoke. "I must say you are quite talented in fighting for a fake." Taking heavy breaths, the deadly serious-looking Lan Jingyi answered, "I told you to stop calling me that, you disgusting creature. Nevertheless, I don't care as long as you will not come anywhere near my family." "Family?" Ha 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 ha! Bale broke out into laughter as he heard her words. "You are interesting, lady. Perhaps if I wasn't on a job, I would have taken you back to my world for experimentation. I'm really curious about the process of your creation. You are neither an avatar nor a clone. Did your original create you through soul splitting? I wonder. Anyways, I have played around for so long. Now, if you excuse me, I need the life of a man named Lu Zhen. I will entertain you later, lady, but for now, you will have to stay aside for some time. The Demon King disappeared and appeared behind her. She motioned her hand in reflex, but Bale teleported before her and gave a powerful punch to her chin. He disappeared soon after. Lan Jingyi felt dizzy as she flew upward for a while. Because the punch wasn't lethal, she managed to recover within 30 seconds and then proceeded to descend to the ground. By the time Lan Jingyi returned to the palace while wearing a robe with a hood and covering her face with a mask to hide her identity, she already found her husband and the others in an unconscious state. Bale was seen imprisoning an unconscious Grand Secretariat in a bone prison. As she checked upon her husband and son, Bale waved his hand with a smile and disappeared with his prisoner. See you later. What the hell is that guardian Yuqiang doing? Immortals are not allowed to roam this land. Lan Jingyi mumbled in anger, but she knew that she cannot stop the demon from leaving. She never thought of herself as the strongest being on the planet, but she was confident that she could protect her family from any threats. It was the first time she felt so helpless at the moment, and further wondered about the identity of the fellow who managed to form a contract with such a powerful demon. Meanwhile, at the Kunyu mountain range, Mark was waiting for the demon while kept looking at his pocket watch. It's been 5 minutes already. I guess he was facing trouble with spotting the target. Earlier, he thought that it will take Bale a while to accomplish his task and return to Helios City. The result? The Demon King completed his mission too quickly. Thankfully, there was no cooldown on the skill. Hence, he was able to return to MT Lan once again to interrogate the assassins. Unlike before, Bale's current task wouldn't need any waiting, but he would have to search for the Grand Secretariat in the city with millions of population. Not to mention, there is no guarantee that Lu Zhen was currently residing in the city. If it takes longer time, Mark would rather return to Helios City. Hence, he decided to wait for 15 minutes and then return. Fortunately for him, Bale returned with the target before the time limit Mark set in his head. Flexing his fingers, Mark mumbled, "Now, let's wake up this gentleman and extract the truth." Meanwhile, in the Bloodhill Forest, an undead army, a powerful undead dragon, and Elena, Zia Fen were following their master, the Necromancer King, as he resumed his aimless roaming in Sector 1 and Sector 2 regions of the forest right after he woke up. After killing the Lord of the Bloodhill Forest and making its undead version his personal mount, he went on doing that for several hours until midnight while killing every creature he encounters on the way. As the 2 innermost regions of the deadly forest were cleaned up completely within just a day, the Necromancer King's army only grew stronger with the addition of 8 Circle and even 9 Circle Beast Kings. Where is it? It's been more than 1,500 years since I was sealed away. My memories aren't clear yet. The Necromancer King appeared to be searching for something. For the next 3 hours, he was relentlessly roaming, and his soldiers were quietly following behind him without speaking anything. Eventually, he ended up at the Black Dragon's lair once again. I think I should search this area properly once again. This is the safest place to hide them after all. He then turned around to look at the undead dragon and Elena/Zia Fen, his 2 strongest servants. Zia Fen, both of you will take the left path. I want you to check if you see any path that is sealed up with the symbol of 2 dragons coiled around each other. They might be covered by rocks and soil, but look carefully. As for you, Zia Hai, undead dragon, I know that you don't have your memories, but you still have the sense of a beast emperor of a supreme being beast. If you feel like there is something wrong, report it to Zia Fen. The undead dragon let out a hiss and nodded firmly, implying that it understands. Soon, the lady and the dragon set out to the large tunnels in the left direction from the entrance. The Necromancer King went in the other direction. Nearly an hour later, he reached the end of an underground cavern but failed to find what he was looking for. Damn it, where the hell is my ancestors' army? Being frustrated by the failure, He got angry, and in rage, he slammed the tip of the scythe onto the ground using his ether energy. Maybe he used too much force. The ground beneath him started cracking and the entire place started shaking as if an earthquake occurred. Realizing that he was underground, the Necromancer King quickly protected himself using an energy shield while floating in the air. However, the collapse didn't happen as he anticipated. Instead, only the ground beneath him was destroyed, revealing an energy barrier covered over a large scale. Only a part of it was seen from his point of view, but he was more than happy to see it with his own eyes. At the bottom of the barrier, there were thousands of statues placed around a tomb. There were torches on the wall still burning even after 1,500 years. Clenching his fist with a creepy smile on his face, he mumbled, "I thought I sealed them in a hidden dimension, but it looks like I didn't. I won't have to find the seal." He raised the scythe and used almost all of his ether energy to launch a powerful beam of concentrated dark energy. The beam struck the barrier, and cracks started appearing all over it before making a huge hole. The Necromancer King descended through the hole and landed on the ground. Letting out laughter, the Necromancer King used the remaining energy to unleash threads of dark energy into the statues around him. "Wake up, Zia's terracotta army. The time has come for us to reclaim our land. With my undead army as the support, there's no stopping us this time." Each of the statues' eyes glowed simultaneously, and every one of them started moving their limbs as if they were alive. Chapter 411, A Deal from Leon Empire. MT, Land Kunyu Mountain Range. It's been more than 3 hours since the Grand Secretariat was abducted and brought to the ruins of Land Sect. While it appeared like he was just silently kneeling in front of the Demon King, in reality, his soul was pulled into an illusionary realm created by Baal. There, he was being tortured with all kinds of punishments the demon could think of. The reason, he didn't speak the name of the mastermind, and maintained his stance that he was the one who ordered the execution of Lu Zhen's parents, but wouldn't give the reason for it. As threats didn't work on him because of lacking any family and Mark clearly didn't buy Li Zhengkang's lie, he ordered the demon to punish him in his own style until his time in the mortal world is finished. In the meantime, he returned to Helios City and acted as if he was just woken up from sleep. As one more hour passed away, the last VIP guest finally arrived at the palace while the preparations for the lunch are going on in the kitchens. It is the fourth prince of the Kun Empire, Qin Zhai. As one of the most popular people of the Vermilion Bird continent, Qin Zhai was welcomed grandly at the palace, but he couldn't meet the birthday boy who was somewhere else. Qin Zhai could only go to his room and freshen up. On his way to the guest room, he inquired about the whereabouts of everyone else. The soldier told him what he knows. "Oh, Princess Shen was here. Perfect. This is a good time to talk to her about the issue in Western Yan. If I play my cards right, then we can acquire a stake in the southern region too. The only problem would be Lu Zhen. More than his mysterious background and powerful servants, his detachment and neutrality are troublesome to handle. If he would actively support one side and will have a stake in the war too, then he will be tied to something, and his actions will become more predictable." While Song Yue was engaging in conversation with other ladies in the palace, and the two experts, Jinlong and Lan Ju, were strolling in the gardens without being bothered by anyone else, Mark, on the other hand, went with some of his fellow royal male guests to the imperial temple. Currently, Aoyang Zhen was praying for the statues of his ancestors, while a giant pig 5-circle, fierce grade, was being slaughtered by the supreme general of the kingdom as a part of the sacrifice. The priests of the temple started incantations while walking around the kneeling king. Meanwhile, the royal guests standing far away became busy chatting with each other, as they were too bored and disinterested in the ritual that was going on for the past 30 minutes. Mark was no exception either. He was chatting with the general of Leon Empire. "Nah, I'm not interested in supporting anyone. I'm just a weapon seller, you know," answered Mark as he was asked about the latest developments in Western Yan. "It's already been a few hours. It shouldn't be a surprise for the news to reach these royal guests who have spies in almost every independent kingdom and empire. Upon hearing Mark's words, General Fan Zhongmao of the Lian Empire couldn't help but comment, "War is the most lucrative business for a weapon seller, Mr. Lu." He then further added, "And the weapons you sell could make them lethal even in the hands of a civilian. If you of all the people don't take advantage of it by supplying the weapons to the weaker party and prolonging the war, it is really a pity." Mark was slightly surprised by his suggestion. He asked in wonder, "Do you support those bandits? I thought Lian Empire is an ally to Phoenix Empire." "Well, our alliance isn't as strong as you imagine. You can say we are more like business partners. We don't involve in each other's internal matters no matter how serious they are," replied the general. He further explained, "Even if we are requested for the support, we aren't obliged to send our troops or economic support. Our self-interests take priority, and our interests definitely lie in the weakening of our neighbors for sure. Our emperor is interested in making the third prince, Shang Wei, his grandson-in-law, but despite that, our commitments won't change. This is something everyone knows, and even we acknowledge it publicly. There's a reason why no one is approaching me or our ambassador in the friendly way they did with the others. They knew that we are just meant for business." Mark stared at him in silence for a few seconds and let out a smile. "You are quite straightforward, Mr. Fan. Just like the symbol of our empire, we are known for our straightforwardness and directness in our hunting or social behavior." General Fan spoke with pride. To which Mark responded with a comment, "But lions are also known to display slyness on certain occasions. Especially, a male lion is often seen trying to lure away the leader to a trap and take over the pride." General Fan shook his head with a smile. "Mr. Lu, just like how the countless stars in the sky disappear as soon as the sun rises in the sky, you cannot compare ordinary lions to a legendary auspicious beast like Leon. It's humiliating for us. Our Leon is the symbol of strength, bravery, determination, resilience, and nobility. We believe that slyness is something that weak people do to stronger people due to their lack of strength. Our empire is like the sun. We don't need to opt for slyness to eradicate our enemy." Mark wanted to retort that their sun is just one of the mediocre stars in the universe, but since this general has no idea about the concept of galaxies, while he would unnecessarily go off topic, Mark kept his opinion to himself and just agreed with his statement. "Yes, your empire is indeed like the sun." General Fan smiled in response, "Glad we are on the same page." "Indeed," mumbled Mark while thinking that this general was just like a frog in the well. What he truly wanted to say is that sun behaves like a king in its solar system, but in reality, it was also a servant just like planets, revolving around the center of the galaxy where a supermassive black hole is located. Mark thought that the general would understand it over the course of time. To keep their conversation alive, Mark then asked after staying silent for a while, "So, General Fan, I was wondering, what are your opinions on our firearms?" "I knew this topic will come up sooner or later." The general behaved a little bit arrogant, but he made sure to not sound like one. He replied, "Personally, I feel like civilians shouldn't get such power, and spirit warriors shouldn't depend on external weapons, whether it is swords or firearms. But if you are curious about our emperor's stance on it, then I must say he seems interested. The problem is that we are interested in those flying puppets you sold the purchase rights and the bulk amount to your emperor. Those bulky metal puppets, panzers, on the other hand, were too weak. Those things that cause blasts over a wide area are expensive and just one-time use. Furthermore, we would want weapons that our enemies have no idea how to counter them. If you have anything like those, His Majesty would be willing to be your client. And after getting to know about the ether weapons from Western Yan, we strongly suspect that you possess more potent weapons, which will only come to light once your store's popularity reaches the certain level you wanted. Am I wrong?" Something suddenly clicked inside Mark's head and realization dawned upon him. "So, you are planning to talk to me about business from the start. You wanted me to confirm that I have new firearms." After a brief pause, he added with a smile, "I must say that is slyness, General Fan." The general rigorously shook his head and clarified right away, "No, you misunderstood me. I didn't start a conversation because of business. I'm here to give you a mission on behalf of His Majesty." "Mission?" Mark furrowed his brows in displeasure. He didn't hide his true feelings this time. "Does your emperor think I'm an adventurer or something?" The general realized that he had misspoken. He quickly corrected his words. "No, what I mean is that His Majesty needs your help in accomplishing a difficult task. Consider it as a deal regarding the Church of Nuwa. Since it is in the territory of Western Yan, we cannot step in without Emperor Shang's permission. This is why I asked you about your opinion on the war." "Church of Nuwa, war, please be clear." As Mark asked for the details, the general glanced around his near surroundings where he saw the guests who could hear them. He shook his head and said, "Not here." Chapter 412. The Vile Act of the Grand Secretariat. After the sacrificial ceremony and praying to the ancestors is finished, Lu Zhen returned to the palace, but he didn't step inside. Instead, he went to the palace grounds and blessed the citizens with his presence, as each of them was given 5 gold coins and a set of clothes. This is the tradition of the Eastern Sun Kingdom, going on since its foundation. The nobles, court officials, royal knights, generals, and the members of the royal family will have to present the king with a birthday gift, but the commoners and soldiers, on the other hand, will be receiving presents from the royal palace. As millions of citizens would visit the capital city every year, the donations will start a week before the king's birthday and will end a week after the event. Those who missed the deadline or cannot show their identification documents won't be able to enjoy the rewards. While Lu Zhen spent his time there, Mark returned to the royal palace. General Fan and a few other royal guests also followed the suit, as it isn't necessary to be present at the palace grounds like with the temple. General Fan hoped to talk with Mark about the deal, but the latter went missing somewhere in the palace. He couldn't find the weapon seller anywhere. Mt. Lan Kunyu Mountain Range. Demon King Baal was staring at the dazed prisoner, who was currently trapped in an illusionary realm. His hand was on Li Zhengkang's head, and he had his eyes closed. Suddenly, a portal appeared out of nowhere, and Mark stepped outside of it. "What are you doing?" he asked curiously. The Demon King opened his eyes and replied, "I'm watching his memories." So Mark's curiosity increased. Baal then said, "His life story is interesting, but I will tell you what you want to know. The mastermind behind your parents' deaths is your grandmother, who is, unfortunately, no more. It appeared that the ones who died weren't your real parents, but you were switched at birth with your half-brother born to your." "I know that story, so don't bother." Mark didn't let the demon finish his explanation and asked him again, "Are you sure she is the mastermind?" As the Demon King nodded, Mark clenched his fist in anger and let out a shout of frustration. "Argu, damn it." With the principal conspirator dead, Mark felt all of his planning became useless. Just then the demon said, "I have something else to say, but before that let me ask you, what kind of relationship do you have with your father, the emperor of the Shang dynasty?" "He is not my father," replied Mark in a sharp tone. He then added, "If you want to fulfill your curiosity, I don't care whether he dies or lives." With that reply, the demon got his answer, and he then said, "According to his memories, your fath, Emperor Shang had fooled around with a lot of women when he was in his prime. It appeared that fathered over 46 children in total. And except for one child, all the remaining illegitimate children and their mothers, along with everyone who knew the secret, were assassinated too." "What did you say, 46? Mark's heart shook for a moment as if a volcano has erupted. Killing commoners, soldiers, or even innocent women is one thing, but killing children. Even in his imagination, Mark wouldn't dare to commit an act like that. "Wake him up!" He raised his voice in anger. The Demon King obliged his request and snapped his fingers. Li Zhengkang's eyes became alive and he looked around in confusion. "It's a dream." Surprisingly, he adapted to the changes in the situation quite quickly. Feeling the heat from the sun, Li Zhenkang asked Mark without showing signs of any weakness. "How long has the time passed?" Mark responded by taking out the gun from his storage ring and shooting a bullet at Li Zhenkang's shoulder. Bang! Arg! He screamed in pain at once, and Mark shifted his aim to the former's left shoulder without speaking anything before shooting more bullets. Bang bang, bang click click. He shot him continuously in different places, perfectly missing his key vitals until the magazine emptied. The Grand Secretariat was feeling pain all over his body and experiencing severe blood loss. As his consciousness was about to fade away, Mark then spoke, "Bale, heal him." He saw Bale's stats and skills after he formed the contract and knew what type of abilities he has. As the Demon King healed Li Zhenkang's injuries, Mark replaced the empty magazine with a new one loaded with bullets. Pointing his gun at him again, Mark spoke coldly, "I won't blame you for killing all those 46 women who slept with the Emperor but killing their bobbies. People say that you are one of the noblest officials in the Empire. You don't take sides and only serve the throne. You don't have a family as it will become your weakness. You follow the rules and will always make sure justice prevails in the courtroom. What bullshit rumors are those? You are worse than a monster. Don't you even feel a little bit of remorse for killing children?" Li Zhenkang was first surprised as his secret was out like that, but then he quickly defended himself with a lengthy reply. "The assassination of illegitimate children of the imperial family is a tradition passed down in the Shang dynasty. It is the job of a Grand Secretariat to clean after the mess made by his emperor and the crown prince. All my predecessors did the same. Fortunately, no Grand Secretariat ever faced the dilemma of keeping one alive to protect the bloodline. And yes, I don't feel any remorse as I was prepared to do it when I took up the job. His Majesty knew that, and yet he fooled around. As for the bobbies, it is their respective mother's fault. They might have willingly or unwillingly slept with the emperor, but it is also a fact that they have the option to kill their baby when they became pregnant. We cannot kill pregnant women or their unborn children by any forceful methods. It has to be voluntary. We give her a choice to kill the unborn child in exchange for money. It's not 46 women, Lu Zhen. The total number of women is 114. Of them, 68 agreed to take the money and killed their unborn child by taking the pregnancy termination pill. The remaining women refused. There are such pills and potions available in the market for a cheap price to do the job, but the greed of becoming a concubine by giving birth to an imperial child doomed their lives. It's nothing but a choice and consequence, Lu Zhen. If not for the fact that Queen Consort Land sent you and your mother away from the city, both of you would have died on the day of your birth. However, your mother's fate was already sealed. Eventually, the late Empress Dowager found out the location of your home and ordered me to proceed with the assassination. However, I purposely instructed them to spare you as I know that you aren't his illegitimate son, but the son of Queen Consort Lan. Regrettably, I only learned the truth after the title of prince was conferred upon the third prince. Killing him would be going against the law, and Queen Consort Lan also seemed like she had forgotten you. Furthermore, you are identified as a civilian with no ether energy. Hence, I decided to ignore your existence altogether. Little did I expect you to return to the Imperial City in 10 years and enter our lives as a unique weapons seller. Within no time, you stepped so high into the social ladder that I didn't dare to reveal the truth anymore. It's not just because you are doing better as Lu Zhen compared to an imperial prince. It is also because your growth in fame and popularity gives hope to commoners. Ever since you stepped inside the imperial city and fought with the nobles, the commoners became braver than before, and they no longer fear to send their complaints to the court when they faced injustice from nobles or powerful people. Now I have said everything I can. You can take your revenge on me in any way you can, but I can't apologize to you for following my duty. Even if I get a second chance, I would do the same. When Li Zhenkang first started his explanation, Mark had the urge to clear the magazine once again, but as he went on listening, his anger slowly faded away. In fact, he no longer felt angry with this old man. Instead, his anger shifted to someone else. I knew it. In the end, that bastard Shang Fu is the source of my agony. He knew about this absurd rule, and yet couldn't control himself lusting for women even when he has several wives. That mafia played around with 114 women. Mark concluded that Emperor Shang is the true culprit behind the death of his adoptive parents. His hatred toward his biological father only grew further, and he became more motivated to bring him down for good. However, there is still one question that's bothering him. To get clarification on the matter, he asked Li Zhenkang in response to his explanation. Did Shang Fu knows that I'm his son? Li Zhenkang stayed silent for a while. He hesitated to answer. Bang! Mark grew impatient by his 5 seconds of silence and shot the bullet into his abdomen. Just say yes or no. Or else, I will bring him to this same location and ask him by myself. He does, answered the Demon King in Li Zhenkang's place. Chapter 413. Discussion between Shen Ling and Song Yue. As both of them looked at the demon, the latter looked at Li Zhenkang. I have already read your memories. But you see, speaking the truth leaves a bad taste in my mouth and I cannot lie to my contractor. So, it is best if you speak the truth by yourself. Li Zhenkang stared at him for a couple of seconds and let out a sigh. Yeah, it is true, although not for long. It's only been a couple of months. He visited your store right after, but upon seeing how you are doing well, he decided against revealing the truth to you. Seeing how Queen Consort Lan had gifted her mother's heirloom to Song Yue, I believe she too figured it out. Honestly, it's not that hard for her to realize the truth. Your appearance is a striking resemblance to Queen Consort Lan's father, Lan Jingxin. Adding on top of that, you also had the ice attribute. The rest is easy to connect. Mark already knew that his mother knew about him, so he wasn't that surprised about it. He calmly nodded and went on to ask another question. Does Shang Wei know the truth? I don't think so. Li Zhenkang shook his head. Mark then asked his final question. So, according to you, only you and those damned biological parents of mine know the truth, correct? As Li Zhenkang nodded while pressing the wound with his hand in reflex in order to stop the blood flow, Mark let out a smile for once as he raised the gun. Thank you for your cooperation. You can die now. Bang! With a bullet piercing through his skull, the Grand Secretariat turned into a corpse and fell to the ground. Baal, your time in this world is about to end. Mark turned toward the Demon King and gave his final instruction for the day. Before you leave, dump this body right in the middle of the Imperial Court. But not like this. Crave the word guilty on his forehead above the bullet wound, and thank you for your assistance so far. All right, I await the next summon, Baal nodded. As Mark opened the portal and returned to a random location on the outskirts of Helios City, Baal let out a smile while grabbing the corpse. My choice is right. Wherever this man goes, destruction follows for sure. It's going to be fun, looking forward to it. A couple of minutes later, after dumping the body in the empty courtroom, which was currently frozen in ice, Baal teleported to the outskirts of the city. Just as he was about to return to his world, a thought suddenly struck his head and he mumbled, I still have a little bit of time. I might as well check the presence of anyone else here. Who knows, someone might have a contract with humans. Meanwhile, at the Helios City of Eastern Sun Kingdom, in a large private chamber located on the 3rd floor of the palace, also considered as one of the inner chambers where the males weren't allowed to step in unless in emergency situations, except for the king, a gathering was organized for the female guests separately from the males. All the women here have similar status, and even Song Yue had the upbringing of a noble. Hence, she has no problem mingling with the other ladies, wives and daughters of court officials, ambassadors, etc. Some of them were casually discussing matters of their families and household affairs. Some of them were listening to the music played by a famous singing courtesan. Some of them were exchanging knowledge. Some of them were showing off their skills in weaving, calligraphy, and embroidery to each other. And a few were even discussing literature and philosophy. Unfortunately, there was no one here skilled in fighting, and neither did anyone have an interest in things, nor were they interested in politics. All of them were only doing things that society expects them to do. And such discussions around her made Princess Shen Ling quite frustrated. She kept her feelings to herself while talking with others, but when she was finally alone with Song Yue, she expressed her true thoughts. "I pity these women, Sister Yue. They act high and mighty but don't understand how useless they are to society. None of these ladies even had any ambition to earn proper recognition on their own and completely depend on their husbands or fathers." "Well, if you say that way." Song Yue couldn't finish her words due to feeling hurt by her words, but Shen Ling understood it by her expression. She quickly clarified her opinion. "You are different from them, Sister Yue. You might have devoted your life to Lu Zhen, but you are still doing something to help him out, unlike them." Song Yue bitterly smiled in response. "It might seem that way on the outside, but I'm not much different. I just sit there all day. I couldn't even help him with house chores properly." "Nah, don't sell yourself short. He trusts you in managing the store and the accounts. I believe he is trying to remove that inferiority complex by doing that," replied the princess, taking Song Yue by surprise. Not because she was hearing it for the first time, but it is because Shen Ling told her the same words Mark replied to her when she asked him during the vacation why he made her the manager of the store. Feeling that Shen Ling understood Mark's thoughts quite well, Song Yue became slightly upset as she was ready to share her husband physically with other women, but not his heart and mind. The possessive part of her doesn't like someone else to understand Mark's thoughts more than her. But the kind part of her tries to make her understand that she can stop her husband from loving other women but not vice versa. Fortunately, the Princess of the Western Moon didn't make Song Yue think more nonsense by changing the topic. "You know, when both of you will shift to Western Moon, I'll teach you the statecraft. Perhaps you might become a key politician as well as an administrator in the future." Shifting to Western Moon, administrator, what are you saying?" Song Yue returned to reality and she was confused by Shen Ling's words. To which the princess let out a chuckle. "Come on, there's no way a person like Lu Zhen would stay at Phoenix Empire. I believe he must have already told you about his relationship with the imperial family, although I figured it out by myself. If you think about it, all of his actions are connected to each other, and they all indicated only one outcome." Song Yue didn't need to connect all of those things, as Mark revealed his goal to her long ago. And she had different thoughts from the princess. She shook her head. "I don't think he would be willing. I mean, he doesn't need to." In her view, Mark intended to overthrow Shang Fu and sit on the throne by himself. Princess Shen Ling probably understood what was on Song Yue's mind too. She shook her head with a meaningful smile. "You forgot about your friend, the third prince. He has awakened the Phoenix bloodline because of Lu Zhen. I heard that Lu Zhen even saved his life a while ago. And now, this variable suddenly became the favorite to succeed the emperor. But Brother Wei doesn't have such ambitions. He just doesn't like his eldest brother to succeed their father. Since he is a child, he always supports Brother Wen, the second prince, to become the emperor." As Song Yue tries to argue with her own logic, Shen Ling replied, "Well, it might change once he learns the truth. Who knows what kind of mess will start at the Phoenix Empire. So it is better for the both of you just move into our palace." Song Yue fell silent, worried about her brother-like figures from the imperial family, as she could only see their doom in the future, and further wondered if Mark would give his family an opportunity to get his forgiveness. When she thought about it, her father's face appeared in her head, and she felt that maybe she wasn't the right person to talk to her fiancé about forgiveness, as she herself couldn't be able to do that to his fugitive dad, not knowing that he was beside her all this time. Chapter 414, Grand Banquet. 3 hours later. The grand banquet started in the palace, and following the social norms, the men were seated in the main hall along with the king, while the women were seated in a separate room. As a person from the modern world, Mark naturally didn't like such customs, but since he was a guest and the host was his ally, he had to respect them. Hence, he decided to not show any displeasure on his face and just went on with the flow. With the golden-furred kitten on Song Yue's side, He wasn't that worried about her safety when he isn't with her either. The heavenly spring wine, made from the spring water of a sacred mountain, is served before the start of the meal, and there were cold cuts of dragon meat on the side. Those who cannot drink alcohol due to preferences or age were served Crown of the East tea. It's a tea made from the leaves of a tree called the crown tree, which is only grown in the gardens of the royal palace of the Eastern Sun. As a teenager who just turned 13, King Lu Zhen naturally drank the tea while Mark was enjoying the wine he never tasted before. He was sitting right to the king while Lan Jiang was on the left. As for Jinlong and Lan Ju, both of them aren't interested to join the banquet as the former isn't interested to eat a species of his own kind, dragon meat, or even see others eat, and the latter doesn't want to be bothered by the humans. They just have the gardens to themselves, enjoying the tea while conversing about unimportant things. Prince Qin Zhai of the Kun Empire sat next to Mark at the high table with other royal guests, and he was very much interested in conversing with Mark. The remaining guests of wealthy backgrounds, scholars, court officials, and ministers sat elsewhere in the hall, mingling among people of similar status. "Mr. Lu, I was wondering what you do with those weapons you acquired from your enemies if you don't use them," suddenly asked Qin Zhai after talking about various things. Mark raised his eyebrow and looked at him. "Why, do you want to purchase them or something?" "Don't misunderstand. I'm not interested in them." Qin Zhai clarified himself with an explanation. "There's a grand auction coming up at Dragon Empire. The date wasn't announced, but it is usually either around the end of the spring or the start of the fall. If you have any semi-divine weapons, you can register with the auction. You will get a far better price than here." "Oh, you mean the world auction by the Temple of Void?" Lu Zhen, who heard it, took an opportunity to interrupt their conversation with his comment, as he was too bored by silently drinking the tea. "Temple of Void, I heard that name," replied Mark before looking at the teenage king. "What do you know about the world auction?" He was obviously interested. His question was answered by Prince Qin Zhai. "It's the most prestigious auction conducted ever in this world, where all the powers from 4 continents will participate. The weakest weapon you will find in the auction will be a platinum-grade set." Lu Zhen then added after he munched a chunk of the steamed bun and swallowed it. "The royal families were automatically granted entry, but for others, they will have to receive an invitation from the temple. Of course, those who auction at least a semi-divine grade item or a treasure equivalent to it will also get a seat." As Will was wondering whether he could introduce firearms at the world auction, Qin Zhai then said, "Assuming that you took all the treasures from the Wuji sect, there are 3 items in your possession that will sell for tens of millions gold coins per each. You Jade Pipa, Eye of Talim, and the Staff of Talim, I guess." Mark was confident that this 4th prince of the Kun Empire was talking about those 2, as they were the ones the system also showed interest to trade. "Staff of Talim, I have only heard of the Eye of Talim," commented the birthday boy. Qin Zhai explained with a smile. They were part of the set equipment of a beast named Talim. He was a beast emperor from the upper plane of existence, but was said to live like a human mage all his life. Other than those 2, there is the armor of Talim, the crown of Talim, and the ring of Talim. Together combined, they were as valuable as a sky-grade item. The Dragon Empire has the crown. The Kilin Empire's imperial family had the armor in its possession, and the ring is lost somewhere. Just like in the system, divine grade in this world was also divided into 4 categories: Earth, Sky, Heaven, and Void. Earth is equivalent to mithril grade, Heaven is equivalent to celestial, and Void is equivalent to the God grade. As for Sky, it is somewhere between mithril and celestial. However, there are only Earth-grade items within the powerful imperial families, and Sky-grade items are just 1 or 2 in number. Heaven-grade weapons are only known to be possessed by the gods, and Void-grade items are just considered a myth, as they are only contained in stories of Jade Emperor and Monkey King. No one actually believes them. It is why sometimes Sky-grade is treated as Heaven-grade, and Heaven-grade is termed as Void-grade. Returning to the present, as Qin Jai was trying to tempt Mark into auctioning the items and further extending an invitation from their empire to join them at the VIP room in the auction. The latter asked what was occupying his mind for the past couple of minutes. How would the auction organizers be able to decide to put in an auction and entice the bidders for higher bids for a never-seen weapon? Qin Jai was surprised for a second as he didn't see any excitement on Mark's face for how much he could earn by selling such coveted items, but instead there was curiousness about expanding the fame of his weapons store. And trying to use this opportunity, he then explained, "Well, the Void Temple's word is enough for everyone to bid. All you have to do is to give a demonstration to their representatives. If you are willing to join us, we can arrange that too." I'll think about it. Mark didn't give a definite answer as he wanted to keep his options open. Personally, he would want to attend with King Shen Niu or his daughter, as they were willing to ride in the same boat as him, and soon. They were also about to play a massive role in his plan, but he will have to talk with the princess before taking the decision. Unlike the empires, the small kingdoms like Western Moon don't have that much budget to spend on things like weapons in an auction, and two, when they have already spent during the expo. If they have to attend a world auction, then they will be forced to spend a lot of money to keep up their dignity in front of others. That is why he will have to talk to Shen Ling, and only then he will take the decision. Slowly time passed away. The tables were filled with various delicacies, followed by a serving of the legendary wine known as Black Spirit wine. It was probably rare that only 2-foot-sized vase was brought into the main hall and was served to only important royal guests like Mark, Dwarven King, and others. When Lan Jiang offered to Mark before the others, he refused it right away in a little bit of disgust while staring at its details. Black Spirit wine. Grade NA. Description: made from the blood of the pens of a beast king named Black Spirit Tiger, this wine is said to enhance one's testosterone levels, stamina, life force, and physical and mental strength, temporary. Note: not recommended for spirit warriors below 5 circle. After effects: those below 6 circle will go into an intoxicated state if drink more than 200 ml. If drank more than 450 ml, the sexual desire will overwhelm the user. Note 2: no effect on the host. Mr. Lu, don't go after its color. Just a cup of wine almost costs 20,000 gold coins, said Qin Jai as he took a sip. An expression of delight instantly appeared on his face. Mark waved his hand with a smile. It's all right. I don't enjoy the wine too much. You enjoy, Prince Qin. Okay. Qin Jai continued to enjoy the wine just like the other adults, with the Dwarven King enjoying the most. People appeared so intoxicated that they couldn't bother chatting about important things with others anymore. Because of the taste of wine, Qin Jai probably missed it, but Aoyang Zhen captured Mark's expression as the teenager wasn't allowed to touch alcohol. Tugging Mark's sleeves, he leaned to the side and slowly asked while covering his mouth, "Do you figure it out? I heard that Brother Lu's eyes were quite special." Mark nodded and replied, "What would happen if people realized the truth of the secret ingredient?" Aoyang Zhen shrugged his shoulders. Thousands of people enjoy that organ itself, and many alchemists use such parts in making medicine. What's the problem with the blood anyways? Just like with his feelings about the separation of the dining place according to gender, Mark doesn't want to force his views on the kid, and hence, he ignored the matter altogether and simply changed the topic, asking about his schedule for the rest of the day. Chapter 415. The Request from Lian Empire. As the banquet was finished, the guests were either escorted to their rooms to take a rest or went on a stroll in the gardens. Aoyang Zhen, however, didn't have the time to rest. He has to travel to the port to launch the warships and then unveil the new statue of his late father built in the heart of the city. After that, he will have to return to the royal palace where the presentation ceremony will take place. All the guests who participated in the banquet will present their gifts to the birthday boy. Only then he could finally take a nap. The teenage king and his guardian were out with the Dwarven King, and Prince Qinzhai tagged along with him due to their curiosity about the kid-class warship. One wanted to inspect its technology, and the other wanted to see if they were worth buying too. Mark took this opportunity to talk with the general of the Lian Empire. Seeing that he was trying to talk with him since morning, Mark took out the LMV Iveco and asked him to sit beside him, and drove outside of the palace with an excuse of just touring the city. No one is there to question him, and neither knew him well enough to suspect his actions either. Perhaps the only thing that soldiers were curious is the LMV. It was so out of the place that it naturally attracts attention. As he was slowly driving on a sturdy concrete road and the general was looking around in curiosity, Mark opened up the topic. "So, General Fan, tell me, you said you have something to talk about involving the fate of the Western Yan." The general turned serious as he nodded. "Yes, I do. You must have heard of the Church of Nuwa." "Yeah, I heard that the church is the ally of the Jai clan and considered the guardian of the Western Yan. Well, at least it's branched there," replied Mark while carefully choosing his words. He doesn't want to reveal that he had already killed its archbishop and intended to demolish them very soon. General Fan then took a deep breath and said, "The Church of Nuwa has its branches all over the world, and each branch has a cardinal overseeing the region. Below him, there will be 3 archbishops carrying out his orders. Every cardinal is usually a 7-circle realm expert, and every archbishop will be in a 6-circle realm. Of course, there are also elite fighters who don't preach to the people, but just take the jobs like adventurers. Anyways, coming to the point, the current cardinal of the Church of Nuwa's Western Yan branch is a 20-year-old young man named Xian." Mark instantly recognized the surname. "Is he a member of the royal family, a prince?" he asked. The general nodded with a bitter smile. "Yes, he was originally a prince. His mother isn't a human but a species called elf." Elf? Mark was taken aback at once. He couldn't help but think of Zan Rong, a fellow earthling with amnesia. "What kind?" he asked. This time it was the general's turn to get surprised. "You know about elves?" Mark nodded and behaved as if he had knowledge about the elves. "Pale face, pointy ears, affiliation with nature. Do I need to go on?" General Fan shook his head and even let out a sigh of relief before explaining, "Thank goodness. I guess we took the right decision in contacting you. As far as we know, Queen Consort Irles S. Sorry about that. Queen Consort Irles introduced herself as a moon elf. We thought she came from the moon goddess domain. When she was pregnant with Xian, our current Emperor Shixuan, who was retired back then, fell ill due to a curse. His Majesty contacted everyone, but even Supreme Realm experts couldn't do anything. In the end, he contacted the Church of Nuwa's Supreme Pontiff. The latter asked for a price. And that price was Xian." Mark's facial expression darkened all of a sudden. He stepped on the brake, stopping the vehicle in the middle of the road. "Yes." General Fan nodded while slowly shifting his gaze, worrying that this mission is going to be a failure. Mark was someone who faced injustice as a baby, and hence, there's no way he would understand their point of view. Still, he had to listen to everything before making the decision. Keeping his anger in check, he gestured for the general to continue with the story. General Fan continued. "At first, His Majesty thought that he could offer a baby born during the same time as Xian in place of him, but Xian wasn't born as a human, but as an elf. With his mother dying during childbirth, the elders didn't face any problem in convincing His Majesty to proceed with the sacrifice. Xian grew up in the church as the child of Goddess Nuwa. He was currently serving as the cardinal, and the latest news from our spies at Qing Dynasty, Zizhai Empire, stated that one of the 4 heavenly princes of the church had passed away, and there is a high chance that he will be appointed as one. If that happens, then it will be too late. We have to act when he is outside of their protection." "Okay, tell me something. Do you want him to return to his biological family, or do you want me to end his life? What are you suggesting?" Mark could sense that it was more likely the former case, but they wouldn't ask his help for such a thing, would they? It's illogical. Hence, he placed his bet on the latter. General Fan replied while sighing inwardly. Naturally, we want him to return, but he already made his decision clear. He wants nothing to do with the family, but 3 years ago, as our emperor passed away, Grand Emperor Shixuan took the charge as the ruler once again. His Majesty is willing to confer the title of a prince on Xi'an and give him an opportunity to succeed him. What we need from you is the destruction of the Church of Nuwa's branch at Western Yan and his abduction before delivering him safely to the imperial palace. Let me get this straight. Mark spoke with a frown on his face, expressing his displeasure. 1. You are going back on your promise. 2. You want to act against his wishes. 3. You want me to kill people who had nothing to do with me. And 4. You want me to abduct him and deliver to you like a hired mercenary. Why do you think I will help you guys? Mark usually says this type of words with a hidden meaning, like asking about what he gets in return, but this time, he was direct as his heart responded to it, not his mind. The general then took out 2 scrolls from his storage ring. These 2 are wish grants from His Majesty. You can have one of them. If you take the left one, apart from the throne and the lives of the imperial princes and princesses, you can ask for anything. The Leon Empire will be obliged to fulfill your request. And if you take the right one, you can also ask for any materialistic reward that doesn't cross the value of 10 million gold coins. Of course, it goes without saying that your firearms will be acknowledged by the imperial palace. This is how much we value your help. Will you do it? Ding, you received an emergency quest, Justice to Xi'an. Chapter 416, Unlocking Zan Rong's Memories. Quest, Justice to Xi'an. Description: Xi'an was born as a prince of the Leon Empire, but due to circumstances, he was sacrificed by his father when he was a baby and faced injustice. Deliver justice to him in any way you can. Time limit: none. Reward: unknown, depends on the end result. Mark stared at the holographic screen floating before his eyes and fell into deep thoughts. Meanwhile, the general stayed silent, displaying his patience. He thought from all angles, and in the end, he decided on taking the wish grant scroll that lets him demand anything from the emperor. But before taking it, he made sure to confirm that this grant doesn't have an expiry date. Ding, you accepted the quest. I promise you that your emperor will meet his grandson at his home for sure. Mark accepted the quest and turned around the vehicle to drive back to the royal palace. General Fan was happy as his mission is accomplished, not knowing that Mark has different plans for Xi'an. Several hours later. It was around midnight, and almost all the royal guests went asleep. Mark was awake, though. He was lying on the bed and staring at the ceiling, thinking of everything happened during the past 24 hours. With the attack on the emperor and killing of the Grand Secretariat, the imperial court would likely assume that it was the work of the mysterious warrior who imprisoned and killed those experts in the Jai Palace. By now, Song Tai should have made his move. However, Feng Wu says there is movement from the enemies. It is as if they have given up on Western Yan. Nope, if that is the case, there will be a formal letter to Feng Wu. Then, do they think that it is the work of an unknown enemy? Or maybe they think that they'll have to act carefully and need to gather their troops to launch a full-scale war. Whatever the case, I have no time to lie down here. Tomorrow morning I will have to. Knock, knock, knock. His thoughts were interrupted by the door knocks before it was opened. Mark immediately sat up and get down from the bed in a hurry, as there was only one person who would open the door without asking his permission. Soon the door was opened, and Mark saw 3 figures in hoods. After a while, Zan Rong was seen wearing the amulet Eye of Talim around her neck, with Lan Jiang placing his hand on her head. Both of them had their eyes closed, and Lan Jiang was guiding her. As for Mark and Aoyang Zhen, they were spectators. An hour later, Lan Jiang finally took off his hand off Zan Rong's head and let her drown in the sea of memories that were hitting her like waves. Roughly about half a minute later, she opened her eyes widely with a look of shock on her face. She looked at Aoyang Zhen and spoke to him first. "Your Majesty, I know what my origins were, and sorry for troubling you until now." She formally bowed deeply as she stood up, shocking Aoyang Zhen and Lan Jiang. In their eyes, she was a silly and clumsy girl who doesn't have the capability to become serious even when someone put a knife at her neck. She then turned toward Mark and bowed to him too. "Thank you for your help. Without you, I wouldn't be able to remember who I am." "No problem. I could do that much for a past acquaintance," replied Mark as he glanced at the notification screen. "Ding, you completed emergency quest. Awaken the memories of Zan Rong. You received a mysterious package as a reward." A Zan Rong turned toward Lan Jiang and Aoyang Zhen, while thinking that Mark was talking about them. The wise teenage king managed to decipher his words quite quickly and said, "He was talking about you, sister." A look of surprise appeared on her face. She turned toward Mark once again. "We know each other, but I have never seen you in my life." As Aoyang Zhen and Lan Jiang looked at each other, wondering whether she really had all of her memories returned to her, Mark then spoke in a language that can't be understood by the people of this world. "English? I know you, Marina Zan. You are a student at JKU and live in the city of Linz. You are then summoned to the Excitus Empire and become a spirit warrior there before landing into this world." Zan Rong's eyes widened in shock. "How do you know?" Unknowingly, she too responded in English, probably of the fact that it is her mother tongue. Mark replied, "English. If you are interested to know how I could know this language or these details about you, we can talk before lunchtime, or you can take your time and come to our store branch at the Lunaris city of Western Moon and meet me there. I also need some answers from you." Lan Jiang and Aoyang Zhen, who couldn't understand a thing these two were speaking, couldn't help but look at them in confusion. But then again, it also proved that Mark knew her. Soon, the three of them left the room, and Mark closed the door and quickly opened the inventory to check what kind of treasure he earned. Ding, you opened the mysterious package. Ding, you received 0.2 free attribute points and a memory storage card. A memory card. Mark couldn't help but look at the details. Memory storage card. Storage space, unlimited. Grade NA. Description: you can store anyone's precious memories in the card and access them at any moment. Note, the memory storage card isn't bound to your soul and can be accessed by anyone. Directions to use: place it on the forehead with the blank image on the card facing upwards and pour your ether energy into the card before thinking of the memories. To access the stored memories, place the card with the image facing upward. Okay, I guess I misunderstood by its name. Anyways, let's use this attribute. I wonder if it can be used to increase defense to 10 points. Mark opened the character stats and saw a plus besides every attribute except for luck. Here we go. Ding, the defense attribute has been raised by 0.1 points. 9.9 points. Mark's face darkened as he saw the plus sign disappear beside the defense option. All this time, he wondered if he should train in a traditional manner just like the natives of this world to make a breakthrough into the demigod realm, but now he confirmed it. Let's just focus on maximizing the stats. We'll think about breakthrough later. Ding, the strength attribute has been raised by 0.1 points. Name: Lu Zhen Mark Spencer. Rank 9. Strength 9.6. Intelligence 7.6 plus 25%. Defense 9.9. Agility 9.6. Vitality 9.1. Resistance 9.1. Charisma 9. Luck 2 plus 5. Bloodline Blizzard Pegasus. Attribute: lightning, ice, space, gravity, oil, poison, antimatter. Spirit path: summoner, May. Ether quality: high. Ether energy: 1,644,962. Special skills: Ultimate Defense I, Ultimate Defense II, Thunderblast, Lightning Clone, Seal Breaker, Devil's Hand, Tamming, Enhanced Durability, Ether Regeneration, No Touch, Gravity Dome, Eyes of God, Metal Armor. Bloodline skills: Absolute Freezing, Ice Bolt, Blizzard Wings, Freezing Gaze. Titles: VIP Customer Equipped, Master of Holy Beasts. Special items: Danya the Divine Throne, Exoskeleton Suit, VII Missile Defense System, VII B2 Spirit Bomber, Mark 14 nuclear bomb, peak potion, attack helicopter EC-665, ring of luck, M134 minigun. Unlocked exclusive weapons, Derringer LV-1, shotgun LV-2, grenade launcher LV-3, Panzer IV LV-4, LARS LV-5. Assistants, 2 Alan Spencer, Elena Spencer. Contracted beasts, 10. Contracted demons, 1. Store branches, 1. Lifespan limit, 585 years, 560 years left. Available credits, 78,635,118. Available credit limit, 189,500. Net worth, 11,204,479 gold coins. Total debt, 0. The next day, the remaining royal guests who stayed for the night also started leaving one after another. Only Mark and his companions stayed behind for the lunch. Princess Shen Ling wanted to stay, but the situation at Western Yan required her presence at her home. At around 10 in the morning, Mark and Song Yue were strolling in the gardens while chatting about each of their past funny incidents. "Mr. Lu," a faint voice was heard far away from behind. At first, Mark didn't put his attention, but then as he was called once again, with the voice getting a little bit louder compared to before, Mark halted his footsteps and turned his head. "What hap?" Song Yue paused her talk and also followed the suit, spotting a woman scurrying toward them while grabbing her long skirt to not trip and fall down. "Do I need to leave?" she asked. "Nah," Mark shook his head. "You know the truth already. No need for privacy." He told her to stay, giving her a slight moment of happiness. After a while, the three of them went for a ride to talk in the vehicle, without worrying about someone listening to them. However, Song Yue had to take the back seat, for she was merely a spectator. "So, what answers do you seek from me?" asked the girl after Mark drove silently for a while and gave her the signal to speak. "Well, let's start with how you were summoned by the elves." Chapter 417, Zan Rong's Past. 3 years after Mark's abduction. Year 2044, Lint City, Eurasian Federation. In a city where the air traffic is slightly busy with aerocabs flying everywhere, a young adult couple was walking on a sidewalk with their arms locked with each other. One is Zan Rong/Marina Zan, and the other one was a handsome-looking young man with aquamarine eyes, messy hair, a V-shaped torso, and broad shoulders. He looked attractive enough to have the attention of the female passers-by. "Babe, I have to return to the dorm," said 17-year-old Mari. To which the man responded with a question. "It's already the time. I thought your flight is at 19:00 HRS. Mari shrugged her shoulders. "I haven't packed." The man's shoulders dropped and his face crestfallen in depression. "I can't believe the summer is here already. But then again, it is just this summer. Once I return, I can move in with you." Mari told him about how her dad has given his permission for her to move out of the dorm and live with her boyfriend. The man was naturally happy when he heard that, and he expressed how he cannot wait for the day when they start living together. Both of them stopped and looked at each other before kissing each other. The passers-by don't care about it anyways, as it is a common thing. Just as they were about to separate from each other, something incredible happened all over the world at the same time. 30 beams of light descended onto the earth, while everyone was frozen in their spots as if time itself stopped. Coincidentally, the two of them were also caught up by the beams of light. Once they disappeared, the time flew like normal. The young adult couple suddenly found themselves in the middle of a large platform, alongside the other chosen heroes of similar ages, and they were surrounded by dark elves. A tall and attractive-looking woman who was standing in the summoning circle greeted them. "Welcome, chosen heroes from another world. I'm Nyxera, the third princess of the Ixodus Empire. Our world is in grave danger, and we require your assistance to save millions of people from the demons. We will give you powers, we will train you, we will make you live as long as our race, and you could also return to your world with those abilities to become heroes there too. All we ask is your time, bravery, and service." 1 year later. Somewhere in the woods. Mari and her boyfriend were wearing a full set of equipment and carrying bows and staves just like the other dark elves as they were hunting down demonic creatures in a forest. Despite the fact that they have only trained for 1 year, the two of them have already surpassed the dark elves of captain rank in terms of strength and skills. With the 7-circle realm of cultivation, Mari is now a newly promoted general, while her boyfriend-turned-fiancé is her lieutenant general with the cultivation realm of peak 6 circle. After killing one after another, both of them eventually reached the central region of the lair of the demonic serpent Viakara, a beast king of the 7-circle realm. There, a half-naked muscular man was waiting for them while sitting on his throne. "Welcome to my abode, the legendary demon slayers. I heard so much about the heroics of you two lately, but you two aren't smart at all. Flaunting your talents in front of the natives and snatching their positions will always create envy. Now, look at the two of you coming straight to death. Don't overestimate yourself, serpent." Maria took out her staff adorned with a blue crystal on its top and pointed it at Viakara. Her partner also took out his bow made of dragon bones and conjured an arrow. "Oh boy, here we go." Viakara stood up from his throne and transformed into a 7-headed serpent with each one in a different color, corresponding to each basic attribute. Its cultivation rose to 8th circle, and the young couple's faces changed upon realizing that they were indeed fallen into a trap. The battle ensued between them. Eventually, Marina and her fiancé fell into extreme disadvantage, and they decided to escape from the beast, but not outside. Instead, they ventured deeper into the caves located in the lair. Viakara naturally followed them from behind. Unfortunately, its large size made it difficult to capture the couple, and its movements also slowed down. However, Viakara cannot transform back into a human form either. He wasn't an emperor-grade beast that can transform at will after reaching a certain level. There was some sort of cooldown timer between transformations. After running for so long with injuries, they ended up in an underground cave where a mysterious headless statue was placed in the middle. "Babe, look at that. There's something written here." Mari pointed at the stone tablet below the statue as her fiancé was wondering where the statue came from. She walked toward the stone tablet and crouched down to wipe it off. "We don't have the time to fool around, Mari," said the man as he took out a scroll and placed it on the ground, getting into action to activate the teleportation formation. "Come on, there's no way that serpent would be able to reach with its huge size. We literally crawled in those tiny gaps." After telling her fiancé to stop worrying, she further told him that she won't take a long time to fulfill her curiosity. However, just as she wiped off the first few characters, she was taken aback in surprise. "Ooh, babe, look at this. It's Mandarin." "Huh?" The man was surprised and couldn't help but look in the direction of the stone tablet. As Mari hurriedly wiped off the dust to reveal more characters, her fiancé commented, "It looked like we aren't the first ones to be summoned by the elves." "But who could have inscribed these words here, and what was it doing here?" asked Mari, filled with curiosity. To which the man responded with a shrug, "Who knows? We don't have the luxury to probe into the matters." "Wait, there's a message here. Give me a second." Mari went on to wipe out all the dust with her hand and read the sentence as her fiancé continued with his process. "For some complicated reasons, I'm sealing my soul in the statue, hoping that I will never get out. If you read this, then, I hope you never attempt any technique that involves space attribute anywhere near my prison, as it will create distortion in space and unleash hell onto this world. I hope." Just as she read it in her mind, a panic appeared on her face as the teleportation formation was completed. "Mari, it was ready." "Oh no." Mari abruptly turned her head and shouted, "Shut it down, Alan." "What are you?" The man was taken aback, and before he even reacted to anything, the statue started cracking and multiple portals appeared randomly, with each one having great suction power. Without being able to resist, the two of them float in the air and flew toward a portal each. Mari, Alan, no. They ended up being swallowed up by the portals before the statue crumbled to dust, releasing a wisp. At the same time, Random portals started to pop up everywhere around the world, and from them, alien creatures exited one after another, throwing the entire world into chaos. Present-day Helios City, Eastern Sun Kingdom. And this is how I ended up in this place, only to lose my memories in the process. Mari finished her story and let out a deep sigh as she looked outside through the window glass. I don't even know where my hubby was right now and how should I find him, but I think I can find some clues in the ruins of combat where I appeared on this planet. Even if I find a way to leave, I still need to worry about my cultivation now. There was some sort of seal on me, and my cultivation realm was regressed to 5 circle. After hearing everything, Mark only asked one question as he pressed on the brakes. Your fiancé, is his full name Alan Spencer? Yes, how do you know? Mari asked curiously. She told her story but had yet to hear how this man knows her past and could speak her mother tongue. Do you know Alan? Mark's hands started shivering all of a sudden, and Song Yue's facial expression also changed. Forcefully calming down himself outwardly, Mark nodded. Yes, he is like a brother. I was a close friend of his elder brother. Chapter 418. The Emperor Summons Mark. Originally, Mark planned to reveal his real identity and further tell her all things about Alan to prove his point in order to gain her trust, so that he could get access to all her memories and find a way to his home planet. But after hearing her story, he realized that it is useless, and he changed his plans swiftly. He doesn't see any reason to access her memories now. Without his younger brother's presence at either Ixitus Emperor or his home planet, he has no motivation to visit those places. Yes, there's an afterthought of taking his revenge against his former superior, the friends who betrayed him, and the mafia gang group that turned his life upside down, but still, they aren't as important as his younger member. Finding him takes priority, and now Mark has no idea how to accomplish the task. As a result, he took the approach of being a close friend to Mark who heard about her, that's all. Zan Rong/Marina didn't buy his story completely, as she remembered the incident when they met for the first time. Back then, Mark addressed with her shortened form. However, Marina didn't have a single memory where she met Mark before her life. Hence, she could only conclude that either they knew each other very well, and her memories didn't return completely, or there are some truths he was withholding from her. After experiencing the world of fantasy for a couple of years, her bet is on the latter. Alan's full name completely coinciding with her fiancé's name only increased her suspicion further. But then again, she didn't question him because of the distance of familiarity between them. Perhaps she would ask him in the future, but for now, she kept her opinions to herself. After going on for a drive a couple of hours, they returned to the palace. Alan was seen competing in calligraphy with Lan Jiang. The king was all praises for the android, expressing his disbelief of how he couldn't believe Alan was a complete beginner as Mark told him. Being at rank 8, naturally, Alan's learning ability was something normal humans cannot understand it. Mark could only smile and reply that he is proud of his brother. Soon, they went to the dining hall for the lunch, and once it was finished, Mark started his journey back to the Phoenix Empire. By the following evening, Mark reached home with Song Yue, Alan, and Black Knight Song Yun, while the 2 Beast Emperors traveled on their own to go to Mt. Lan. As for the 2 coachmen and the bicorn carriages, since they originally belonged to Eastern Sun, Mark left them at the palace and traveled the LMV. They reached home by 4:45, and surprisingly, just half an hour later, a soldier was at the store with a scroll in his hand. He gave it to Alan and returned it. After freshening up, as Mark came out of his room, he was handed the scroll. Taking a seat on a couch, he opened it. There weren't many sentences written inside, and the content was also so clear that he was forced to respond right away. Closing it, he calmly rose to his feet and said, Alan, we are going to the Imperial Palace. Inform Zai Mei about it and also tell her to pass the information to Song Yue. It might get a while for her to come out of her bath anyways. Alan nodded firmly before asking about their means of transport and further suggesting his opinion. As the rank 8 android, he was more connected to Mark's soul than Elena in the past ever could be. He exactly knew what Mark was thinking, and at the moment, the weapons seller was wondering whether he should take the attack helicopter, go by LMV, or just fly using an exosuit. Big bro, based on how your fame has improved in the eyes of the Imperial family and the change in the situation at Gong City, it is recommended to intimidate the Imperial family before they put pressure on us. There is a high chance that the Emperor will question your involvement in the war. Alan didn't wait for orders and instead gave his master a piece of advice, trying to test if Mark would feel comfortable with it or if he would feel offended. Based on Mark's reaction, Alan decided that he would act accordingly in the future. Of course, there is a reason for him to suddenly voice his opinion even though he was upgraded to rank 8 a while ago. It is because of the existence of the real Alan Spencer. He knew that he is a replacement for Mark's brother, but after the incident with Zan Rong, Alan was worried about his place in Mark's heart after the original returns. Seeing that Mark's real brother was stranded up in some world, and Mark planned to search for him too, the android who was becoming a lot closer to a real human felt like he should use all this time to get so close to Mark that the latter would no longer think of him as a replacement. Fortunately for him, Mark already stopped thinking of him as a mere android, so that's a head start. Now, he should once again make his master feel like he is not only reliable for fighting, but also a reliable advisor. Upgrading to rank 8 really had brought tremendous changes to him, thought Mark, and responded with a question. What do you think we should do then? Seeing Mark respond positively, Alan let out a pleasant smile and spoke. Jinlong, the gold dragon, would be the best scenario to be used as a mount, but he has other uses, and using traditional mounts to make appearances shouldn't be your style. Hence, I recommend Danya. The Divine Throne. Mark was taken aback at first, but then he remembered that it can change shape according to the will of its owner, and it can also fly. In an instant, he realized what the android was trying to convey. Do you mean I should transform Danya into some sort of spaceship from sci-fi movies? Exactly, nodded the android. Alan further said with a tiny bit of excitement. Its appearance shouldn't be simple either, as it only makes it appear exotic for the people of this planet and nothing more. If you give me enough time, I think I could design in a way that you can even use all the unlocked missiles too. While it will take several days to build a perfect model, for now, we can do with basic ones like rotary guns at one of the hard points in. Nah, let's just stick to the civilian spaceship model. Mark shut down Alan's idea as it would restrict him to transform into other things at any time he wants. There's also the weapons available skill set to consider. Anyways, thanks for the tip. Let's go with your idea, and I think I have the perfect appearance I need in my mind. Alan immediately realized what his master was thinking of, and he gave his approval with a nod. Yes, I believe you do, although we have to mind the size of the object. It should be big but not too big. People should witness its entire appearance, and we should be able to land it in the palace ground. Yeah, I know. Mark proceeded to summon the Divine Throne. Chapter 419. Mark finally bares his fangs against his father. The Imperial Palace, Imperial City of Phoenix. Unlike any other usual day, the palace was heavily guarded by thousands of soldiers from the entrance gate to the Emperor's chamber. From morning to night, every second, they were on high alert, working in different shifts and ensuring the palace was always secured. And when they spotted an unidentified flying object in the sky which is descending toward the forecourt of the palace without going through standard procedures, almost half of them rushed forward and took out their weapons. However, a majority of their hands were shivering in nervousness and fear as they remembered the warning from their supreme commander. If any enemy is bold enough to make such an entrance, then it is almost assured that only those above the 7th circle had remote chances of surviving. More than some sort of spaceship, it looked like a creature. With its spiny, spider-like shape and constantly undulating black skin, the Divine Throne took the appearance of a sci-fi warship called the Shadow Dreadnought, although of the mini size. Overall, it did have an unsettling effect on the spectators. Naturally, the generals were informed, and by the time the object landed, Even Song Tai was present. While everyone is tense and Song Tai looks serious, there was just one person who looked calm. "Relax, everyone. It is not an enemy. Lower down your weapons." Shang Wen's words attracted the attention. As they turned to look at him, the second prince pointed at the object. "It looks weird. It is made of metal and it can fly. Do you need me to say any more?" The low-level soldiers looked at each other in confusion, while the Imperial Guards and the three generals realized what the second prince was hinting toward. Soon, a door was opened on the top of the vehicle, and two men were seen slowly rising up. Song Tai's eyes darted to Mark, and then at the 16-pointy legs of the vehicle until Mark and Alan landed on the ground. The Supreme Realm expert then disappeared from the spot, returning to the side of the Emperor whom Bai Zun was guarding in his absence. "It's been a while, Brother Lu," greeted the second prince with a smile, expressing his friendliness. Mark smiled in return and nodded. "It is, Brother Wen." He doesn't want to address him like that, but it came naturally from his mouth. After all, Shang Wen was the only one in the imperial family Mark respects from the bottom of his heart. Perhaps it might be because of the second prince's noble and straightforward character, or it is because he never thinks of himself as royalty. The reason might be anything. Leaving behind the divine throne and Alan in the middle of the palace grounds, Mark started walking forward. Walking beside him, the prince asked, "What was that? Is that a new flying puppet?" During the divine throne's transformation, people cannot sense its grade. Hence, Shang Wen has no idea about it. Mark has no plans to reveal the secret either. He answered, "It was a gift I recently received. There's only one of its kind in the world, though." "Relax, I'm not interested in it. There's already so much on my plate with the existing ones," commented the second prince with a shrug of his shoulders. After a brief pause, he then changed the subject. "Originally, I planned on meeting you to borrow Alan to increase the pace of the flight training, but the situation forced us to meet under different circumstances." Mark immediately replied, "Honestly speaking, neither you nor I have anything to do with this current situation. It's not our job to worry about it." The second prince immediately understood what Mark was hinting at. He couldn't help but comment, "Well, not everyone thinks that way, though. People always connect something with another to suit their needs." "That's true," Mark nodded in agreement. Soon, the both of them made their way to the private chamber while everyone else dispersed to get back to their work. However, the spider-like vehicle was attracting too much of their attention that they couldn't help but glance at it very often. Meanwhile, Mark stepped inside the chamber and saw Shang Fu and the remaining three princes in the chamber alongside Song Tai and Bai Zun. There was no one else apart from these. It was also the first time Mark saw Shang Bo in person, but his impressions of this prince are nowhere near positive. As the leader of NET, the most powerful spy organization in the whole Vermilion Bird continent, usually, he certainly is a person worthy of befriending. But because of the fact that Shang Bo is an imperial prince who appeared to be working in the shadows, Mark feels like he is more of a threat. As Mark stood in one spot for a bit of time, Bai Zun asked him to take a seat before introducing the princes. Mark nodded to each of them and greeted the emperor with a bow, and then sat beside Shang Wen. Looking at him, the serious-looking emperor then opened up the matter. "Lu Zhen, you must have already learned of the situation at Gong City." As Mark nodded, Emperor Shang continued, "The reason I summoned you here is to discuss how much involvement you have in this war." Mark expected that much from the start. He calmly answered, "I'm a weapons seller and my job is to sell the weapons to the customers. What they do with them is none of my business, and the consequences are not mine to bear either." "I don't buy that, Mr. Lu," commented the Crown Prince. He took the opportunity to act first before the other princes, especially Shang Wei. As everyone looked at him, the Crown Prince went on to say, "I believe you were aware of who Kunyu bandits are, and what they will do once you sell the weapons to them. As a citizen of the Empire, you do have the responsibility to alert the Imperial Prince if you were to sell something really dangerous to the traders of the Empire." A frown instantly appeared on Mark's face as he heard the words of the Crown Prince, but it quickly disappeared by his sheer willpower. He didn't waste time in defending himself. I'm bound by the customer-seller confidentiality, and those who walk into our store are our customers regardless of their identity. Whether it is an emperor, peasant, or a trader, all of them have equal status for us. How dare you compare His Majesty with a peasant? Do you think of us as a joke? The Crown Prince raised his voice. Perhaps he wanted to impress his father more and decided to be more vocal, or it might be because of his ill feelings toward Mark. Mark is the type of person who has a high ego and doesn't like to be insulted by enemies. Definitely not when he had so much anger toward the Shang dynasty, which encourages the killings of bobbies. He instantly reacted by giving him a death stare. And do you think you are qualified to raise your voice against me just because you are a crown prince? Whatever I am now is the result of my hard work. On the other hand, you got that position on a gold platter because you are the eldest. It's not the result of hard work. So, yes, I think of you as a joke and look down on you. You. Everyone. Chapter 420. Shang Wei offers a deal. At once, silence filled the room for a few moments. From Bai Zun to Song Tai, no one did expect Mark to flare up against the Crown Prince right in the presence of the Emperor. But at the same time, they knew Shang Zexi was also in the wrong to raise his voice like that. Mark/Lu Zhen wasn't your average weapon seller that the Crown Prince had to showcase his authority over him. If he is such a person, he wouldn't have been summoned to the palace like this. The Crown Prince should have handled this matter with grace. Maybe it is because of Mark's current status and how valuable he has become. Or maybe it is because the Crown Prince's situation isn't good in the palace lately. Whatever the case, the Emperor didn't side with him and instead scolded him as soon as Mark lectured him. Prince Zexi, I believe I have told you not to speak anything carelessly. Now I forbid you from speaking any further. The Emperor's stern voice shocked the Crown Prince and he stammered in his speech. Me? But father, he is the one he is. Why? As the Emperor's stare became sharper, the Crown Prince shut his mouth and looked at Mark in hatred. Then the Emperor gestured for the third prince to handle this matter with his eyes. The latter let out a smile and spoke. Don't mind my eldest brother. He has been house arrested for a while, so his emotions aren't stable lately. The Crown Prince also took a glance at him in hatred, feeling humiliated. On the other hand, Mark nodded in understanding while wondering what this prince is going to say, considering the fact that they didn't get angry. No matter, by the end of this meeting, Mark swore to spoil the relations between him and the imperial palace and turn them sour so that it becomes easier for him to shift out of the capital city and openly support Feng Wu. Of course, it can only be done under the premise that they were the guilty party. The third prince then said, Okay, here's the situation. The Kunyu bandits are equipped with firearms and some of them aren't known to us. You don't sell them in your store either. The Empire is at war and we need the details like their strengths, weaknesses, and how many you sold to them each model. You can do that much for the Imperial Palace, right? Mark thought for a bit and replied, I have no problem with sharing the details, but you might lose the motivation to continue the war with them. Do you really want to know? What did you sell? The Emperor furrowed his brows, feeling uncomfortable in his chest as he words those words. Mark turned his head and answered with a mixture of truths and lies. First, I will tell you about 7 key weapons: LARS Rank 5 Robot C4 Advanced, Sniper Rifle Ether, Panzer IV, and finally Grenade Launcher. The third prince asked for a sheet with details written on them, but Mark went on to explain everything orally, because the words have more impact. And just as he expected, the faces of every listener in the room changed quite a bit when they heard how devastating the firearms used by Feng Wu's army going to be. Your Majesty, we cannot let our infantry units fight them, opinioned Bai Zun. It is a suicide. More than their damage power, the Supreme Commander was worried about their high range. Shang Wen agreed with him and further said, only archers above 7 circle could have such a high range. But If we use the mages purely for maintaining a defensive barrier over a large scale instead of a fence, we can hold them down until our experts infiltrate their stronghold. The others thought about the second prince's strategy. The crown prince, on the other hand, wanted to say that it is unwise to discuss their strategy in front of a possible enemy, but he could only shut his mouth. In the meantime, the third prince was thinking deeply while staring at Mark. The latter felt his gaze and asked, "Do you want to say something to me, Prince Wei?" Shang Wei responded with a question, "What currency did they pay you?" "I'm sorry." Mark was taken aback a bit. As the others looked curiously at the third prince, the latter clarified his question by stating, "I know for sure that the firearms you described cannot be sold cheaply. If they procure such weapons and their respective ammunition, then where did they get so much amount of money? If they have paid you such an amount, then someone wealthy should be behind them." "Oh, now that you mention it, it is suspicious indeed." Emperor Shang also felt like he ignored such a vital matter. "Is there a foreign kingdom or empire that is pulling the strings from behind?" thought everyone. Unfortunately for them, Mark was already prepared for the question. In fact, it was Alan who listed possible questions that could be asked in this meeting while they were on their way to the palace. Mark calmly answered, "They didn't pay me with gold. Instead, they put 3 semi-divine grade weapons of the Feng dynasty as collateral. When they paid me in full, I will return their weapons. In the event of default, I will get to keep them." "Collateral?" Shang Wei thought for a bit and asked, "How much is the bill?" "Roughly about 6 million. Mark threw a random figure as he knew they won't bother to look too much into it. If such a case arose, then he will cover it up by stating that there were advanced orders pending too. Little did he expect that the third prince would suddenly put forth a bold offer. "The Imperial Palace will cover the bill and you get to keep those weapons. We will also throw in another semi-divine grade of high quality. In exchange, you just need to lend Venerable Wu for a day." 6 million. The crown prince couldn't help but scream at once. Even the emperor furrowed his brows in displeasure as he commented, "I didn't expect you to take such a decision without discussing it with me." Feeling the pain, the emperor has already allotted 10 million gold coins for this war. They will be spent on paying remunerations to the military, guilds, and sects. Of course, there's also compensation for the lost families. On top of this, if they spent 6 million more just to recruit Wu Weibao, land you slash the Zheng, for a day, the Imperial Palace's treasure will not have sufficient funds to run the empire for a very long time. They would have to resort to rapidly mining more gold and silver to fill the treasury or take a loan from the northern empires. Even if it wins them the war, it just doesn't seem that worth it. Now, adding on top of that, Shang Wei is also offering a semi-divine grade weapon of high quality, ruby grade. It is obvious that the emperor is angry at his son, who just decided things on his own without considering the aftereffects. However, the third prince wasn't a person without plans, but it appeared that he doesn't want to share things openly. "Your Majesty, we cannot afford to lose the Western Yan. I will explain everything later on, but for now, trust me on this." Shang Zexi was told to shut up. Shang Wen was always on Shang Wei's side. Shang Bo never speaks unless he was asked to do so. Bai Zun only speaks on matters of the military. As for Song Tai, he doesn't have any role in this meeting other than staying there as a guard for the emperor. Hence, the emperor is the only one who will think and make the decision. Before he did that, he made sure to ask Mark about it. Looking at him, he asked, "If we give you what Shang Wei has promised, can you promise me that Venerable Wu will bring the head of that mysterious supreme being? He doesn't need to battle anyone else either." Everyone turned their heads to look at Mark. The weapons seller, who thought of a quick excuse, replied by shaking his head, "I'm afraid that's not possible. It's because the enemy is equally powerful as Wu Weibao. To defeat the enemy, Wu Weibao had to fight with his full strength. But if they fight in Gong City, there's a high chance that the entire city will disappear from the world. That means you will have to be prepared to sacrifice hundreds of thousands of innocent citizens." Everyone's face hardened when they heard his words, but only Shang Wei thought differently as he realized something important. You know who that mysterious expert is, don't you? Chapter 421, Mark's Next Move. The room was filled with silence once again as everyone stared at Mark, who was thinking deeply. In the end, he let out a fake deep sigh and said, "Fine, I'll tell you the horrific truth that none can bear to hear." The last Mark said in such a way, he revealed the details of the firearms that almost made them lose motivation to proceed with their plans of the war. Now there's more to hear. Even a Supreme Realm expert like Song Tai couldn't help but stare at Mark without blinking his eyes. If you want to win the war, you have to face not one but two supreme beings. One is a demon and the other is a beast emperor. Jinlong used to be the guardian of the Wuji sect. After the sect disbandment, he followed us by his own will. At least that's what we thought until recently we realized that he and Feng Wu appeared to have some sort of history, and now Jinlong is gone to support his old friend. But before he left, he informed us that Feng Wu had contracted with some powerful demon. And that demon should be the one who attacked the Imperial Palace cause Jinlong was with us, at the Eastern Sun Kingdom, when it happened. The most Wu Weibao can do is to keep one of them busy, even for that and also to make sure to save the citizens from not getting caught up in the middle of their fight. What you were offering might not be enough. If the target is that gold dragon, it can be done. After all, Jinlong cares about the lives of people. But if the target is the demon, the job is extremely difficult as it loves to cause destruction and wouldn't even care to explode if that's what it takes to bring down its opponent. You might have to throw in another high-quality semi-divine grade for the job and lend him divine-grade equipment to face the enemy. This is what it takes me to involve in your headache and solve the situation. After a while, Mark was boarding his new vehicle for the air travel, and the Emperor personally escorted him to the vehicle to bid goodbye to his guest. The princes were forced to tag along, and the Crown Prince looked quite displeased. Surprisingly, he wasn't the only one who wasn't pleased. Even Mark was in the same state as he entered the vehicle without turning his head to look at his biological family. "Alan, let's go." Soon, the vehicle rose into the air like a spaceship and flew toward its destination. As it disappeared from his sight, the Emperor turned around to walk away and said in a low tone, "Song Tai, you follow me to the treasury. I will lend you something that will help you take down the dragon. Shang Wei, you also follow me. We need to talk." "Understood, Your Majesty." The ancestor of the Song clan and the third prince bowed and followed him. The remaining people went on their ways. Meanwhile, inside the flying divine throne, Mark clenched his fist and muttered, "Damn it." Alan understood what his master was feeling after reading his memories. He commented, "I guess this is also not a bad thing." Mark raised his head and looked at the android. "How it isn't a bad thing? None of our plans succeeded except for intimidating them. I guess we went too far that they didn't speak a word against me. I wanted them to be non-cooperative by purposely acting like a big shot in front of the Emperor. They ignored it. I even tried to humiliate the Crown Prince to get them angry and make a wrong move, but it didn't materialize either. I revealed that their main enemy is the one I let slip away from my control, but no one blamed me. To force them to accept Feng Wu's terms, I put two great obstacles in the form of supreme beings, but instead, they asked for my service. I raised my fees so high that anyone with a brain would reject it, but they accepted it. Even if they believed that the enemies have two supreme beings, I thought they would let Lanju handle the dragon, and we could just put up a drama in front of everyone while Bale kills the rest. Instead, Shang Wei somehow convinced the Emperor to accept all of my absurd demands, just to lend them Lanju for a day so that he will handle the demon none of them had ever seen. If Lanju handles the demon, it is going to be a problem. Jinlong is a noble dragon and wasn't loyal to me completely. He wouldn't kill others even if I order him. I don't understand why Shang Wei seemed so obsessed with reclaiming the Western Yan, which wasn't theirs in the first place. I thought he is a wise person and will choose peace instead of war, although it will accomplish nothing because I plan to make Bale kill the ministers, one after another to trigger them. Still, I sensed that Shang Wei was more eager for the war than the rest. The madness was clear in his eyes. Alan analyzed all the conversations that happened in the meeting and said, "Big bro, I think there's a high chance that the Western Yan is harboring a deep secret, which was only known to Shang Wei. It could be rare materials or a secret treasure buried somewhere. As for the mission to help them out, you will still get free credits in millions whether the promised divine-grade item is an unbound one or a bound one. Big bro doesn't need to go back on his words. If the Emperor hears that Lan Ju died under the hands of Demon King Baal, you get to have free credits, and the war can still be won by letting Baal go on a killing spree." "Nah, it isn't that easy to fool the Emperor." Mark shook his head, not being completely convinced by Alan's idea. He pointed out the main problem. Lan Jingyi is a demigod and we never know when she will stop acting weak. I can be seen as a killer but not a liar. It hurts the reputation of the store too. "Then, Baal will first capture her." Alan made a suggestion to his master that they will first target the latter's biological mom, and then proceed with the plan. However, Mark wasn't confident of the idea. Killing would be easier than capturing a demigod. Even Baal cannot detain her for very long. Not to mention, he will disappear after 6 hours. What will be then? The Zheng will be forced to come out in the open to tackle her, and it will be proved that I deceived the Imperial Palace for a divine-grade item. It's not worth the risk. Alan started looking for the solution through his analytical abilities. About 10 seconds later he asked, "What if the Zheng abducts Shang Jiao and threatens Queen Consort Lan to stay out of this war?" Technically, Queen Consort Lan is still a being from another planet, an alien. If the Zheng says that a demigod of another world like them shouldn't interfere in the business of the internal powers of this planet, then we will have a logical reason to keep Shang Jiao as a prisoner. Shang Jiao is her biological daughter and also the Emperor's favorite child. The little girl could even make the Emperor withdraw his plans for the war, but I know that you won't like it. So, at the moment, we can only use her to put pressure on Queen Consort Lan. You are right, but..." Mark hesitated to take the decision as a wave of memories hit him. He doesn't want to admit it, but she was almost a family at Genesis Weapon Store. Does he want to stoop so low to abduct his own sister and use her as a bargaining chip to accomplish his goal? Mark was slightly conflicted about this. Understanding Mark's feelings, Alan went on to say, "Big bro, when the time comes, who she will choose? Will she choose her estranged brother who was hell-bent on destroying her father's empire, or will she choose her imperial family that raised her? And when she stands in your path, what will you do? You won't kill her on account of a biological relationship, but you might have to imprison her, right? Or will you forget revenge altogether as you are too afraid to give her the pain?" Perhaps this is what people call AI controlling humans. Under Alan's persuasion, Mark eventually took the decision of the dark path. With a look of seriousness, he firmly said, "We'll abduct her tonight." Chapter 422, Shang Jiao has been abducted. Around 02:45 a.m. Imperial Palace. In the Emperor's chamber, Shang Fu was sleeping soundly. The wine glass and the open jar of wine on the bedside table indicate that he drank before he went asleep. Or perhaps he drank it to get some peaceful sleep. After all, the war in Western Yan is giving him a big headache. Adding on top of that, he found out that his enemies are supreme beings. Obviously, he needs some drink. Knock, knock, knock. It was one of those repeated events where his sleep would be disturbed by the knocks at midnight. He didn't hear it and continued to sleep while snoring heavily. This time, someone banged on the door as if there was an urgent matter. There was no response from the Emperor. At once, the door was smashed with brute force. It was opened, making a loud sound as they collided with the wall. "What?" The Emperor abruptly woke up from his sleep and warily looked around. He then saw a blurry figure entering the room. The lights were switched on. Rubbing his eyes, as the Emperor looked at the stranger who dared to disturb his sleep in such a way, he found it was none other than the second prince. "What the hell are you doing, Shang Wen?" The Emperor angrily roared at him. To which Shang Wen replied in an unpleasant tone, "I apologize, Your Majesty, but I don't have the time to wait until you wake up." Another trouble. Emperor Shang felt like he suddenly became sober. "What is it this time?" he asked while blaming his bad luck. Tightly gripping the scroll in his hand, Shang Wen answered, "My sister, Princess Shang Jiao, has been abducted by the enemy." "What did you say?" Shang Fu's eyes widened in shock, and he quickly snatched the scroll from his son's hand. He read the letter. This wasn't a piece of information sent by some scouts. It was a ransom letter, except that there was no ransom. Instead, there was a demand. "Land's surname, but I never heard of this name before. Who the hell is this Land Jew? And what business she has with my wife?" roared the emperor. Shang Wen answered, "I don't know. Perhaps you should ask Mother, Queen Consort Lan, about it." Even though they were less than 15 years apart, Shang Wen still addresses Lan Jingyi as his mother because of the fact that she was the only one who treated him as a family after the demise of his mother. However, he was also a general now, and he cannot address her that way, at least before the emperor. "Let's go." The emperor and the second prince made their way to the inner quarters. As Shang Wen stopped at the entrance, the emperor dragged him along with him, not caring about formalities in such a terrible situation. Of course, that doesn't mean he would barge into his stepmother's room, and even the emperor wouldn't allow it. He just waited outside the room. A minute later, the emperor also came out and stood with his son as the door was locked. A couple of more minutes later, Lan Jingyi then hurriedly came out of the room in normal clothing, as she cannot come out in her pajamas. Even if it is her stepson who is like her son, he is still a grown-up man. It is highly inappropriate in this world of the medieval era. "Did you find out who sent this?" asked Lan Jingyi in a serious tone. Feeling some kind of invisible pressure on him, Shang Wen replied. The guard informed him that it was given by a middle-aged-looking man. "Who is this Lan Jew, dear?" asked the emperor. "What does she want with you?" Lan Jingyi shook her head. "It isn't a she. It is a he, Your Majesty. Lan Jew is the pet of my late father. It is a son of the beast named Zheng. My father mistook him for a female when he was a baby and gave him a feminine name." Zheng, Shang Fu, and Shang Wen looked at each other. They never heard of such a beast. Lan Jingyi continued with her mix of truth and lies. "It's a beast king he found somewhere. And I know what he wants. He probably wanted to use me to revive the Lan sect since his growth stopped at 7 Circle and doesn't have credibility. Using my surname, he could bring back all the former disciples." "It doesn't make any sense, Mother." Shang Wen opinioned that there must be a conspiracy. "Abducting Xiao Jiao when we were busy with the war and sending us such a letter in the middle of the night. Something isn't right here. A beast king wasn't capable of plotting such a scheme. Somehow, I feel like there's a mastermind." Hearing his words made Lan Jingyi remember Mark for a moment before she shook away such thoughts and said, "Whatever the case, we will know when I meet him. Since he said I know where to find him, I believe he might be at MT. Lan, I'm going right now." "What? Are you serious?" Emperor Shang grabbed her arm as she was about to walk past him without bothering to ask his permission or anything. "In the middle of the night." Lan Jingyi gave a sharp look at him and replied, "Our daughter is abducted. I would go to hell to take her back if I have to. If you understand it, then let me go." Shang Fu and Shang Wen were taken aback by her anger. While Shang Wen was surprised to see such impoliteness toward his father, Shang Fu was more understanding of her behavior. He was aware that when it concerned Shang Jiao, his wife would become scary. For some reason, he would feel invisible pressure on his soul whenever she takes a decision on their little princess, and he tries to object to it. In the end, he would support her, and even now, it was no different. Letting out a deep sigh, he said, "All right, but you won't go alone. What if it turns out to be a trap laid by an enemy? I'll come with you." "No, Your Majesty, your safety is most important." Shang Wen volunteered to go with his stepmother. As a 7 Circle Realm spirit warrior who had the highest concentration of the bloodline of the Phoenix, the second prince was confident enough to protect Lan Jingyi from a beast king of the 7 Circle Realm. How would he even know that he was going to face a demigod beast emperor? Lan Jingyi feared that they wouldn't let her go if she says the truth, and hence, she lied about the Zheng's strength and his origins. Knowing that she cannot go alone anyways, she agreed with Shang Wen's condition and hurried him to prepare for the transport. Somewhere far away from the Phoenix Empire on an island. It was the time the sun was about to rise. Shang Jiao slowly opened her eyes to find herself on a bed in some kind of wooden house. Where am I? I snuck out of the academy and I was on my way to watch the fireworks, and then I received a shock of high power. As she thought about it, she remembered that someone skillfully struck her neck from behind with some kind of lightning energy ability, and she lost consciousness. Shang Jiao quickly got down from the bed and scurried outside of the room, reaching the living room. She saw decent quality furniture, although with excellent craftsmanship around. She didn't care about them as she rushed to the exit. However, as she stepped outside, Shang Jiao halted her movements at once as soon as her eyes fell on a giant dragon of cyan bluish color azure. What the hell? Chapter 423, The Golden Demon Cat and the Mysterious Maid. Roughly 7 hours earlier. The city of Dongyi, Jin Province, Phoenix Empire. A portal opened up in the middle of the city ruled by the Jin clan, not to be confused with the Jai clan, and Mark walked out of it wearing black robes, covered his head with a hood, and his face with a blank mask so that no one will recognize him in any unexpected situations like these. Luckily for him, despite the fact that people are still roaming in the streets, it was dim due to the high distance between each lamppost on the street. It was just 15 minutes away from midnight, and there was no way any kind of store or restaurant will be opened here in any kingdom. Even pubs will be closed now. Only 2 businesses are active at night. One is the hotel business and the other is the brothel. Mark couldn't help but wonder what they were doing. At first, he wanted to stop someone and ask, but then, as his attire itself is suspicious enough, he didn't bother to do it and looked for a dark alley. There, he equipped himself with the exoskeleton suit and just looked for the academy from the skis. As far as he knows, the Phoenix Academy spreads over 200 acres of land and had a 50-meter large statue of a phoenix built in the academy. With his night vision, he had no problem searching in darkness. All it needs is time to locate it. Mark felt like he had plenty of it, but to make this faster, he activated invisibility and followed a civilian with decent luck points for a while until she was alone, knocking her out with a taser gun he purchased from the store and dragging her to a dark alley. Since he had to absorb 3 luck points and he needed 90 seconds of time while he only had 30 seconds of invisibility, he was forced to act in such a way. Once his luck points were maximized, Mark was about to fly into the sky and quickly search for the academy and the princess sleeping somewhere in the dorm before his temporary luck runs out. Before the timeline, he somehow had luck in the random direction he picked earlier and found the academy entrance. And just as he was about to look for the girls' dormitory, he saw a girl with icy wings go past the high walls of the academy and then landed outside the academy while carrying another girl. Lucky! Mark grinned, taking out taser gun as he flew in the direction of his target. Of course, this wasn't the same taser gun he used against the civilian. This one was a transformation of the Divine Throne. For the past couple of hours, Mark has done experiments on the Divine Throne after getting to know that a divine-grade weapon could also use other attribute attacks than its own. He realized that he could actually use all of the attributes from lightning to antimatter through the divine-grade weapon. However, the task wasn't easier by any means, especially for the guy who completely depended on the system-provided skills until now. After training for 2 hours, under Alan's guidance, Mark finally managed to release an electric shock through the weapon. Whether it is a sword or a spaceship, the outcome doesn't change, but Mark chose the form of a taser gun to ambush his sister from behind. The other girl tried to save Shang Jiao by attacking Mark, but the latter needed evidence about the abduction. Hence, he left her unharmed and just grabbed his sister before flying away at his maximum speed. The Zheng received the order through their telepathic connection from a long distance. He went to the imperial palace while partially hiding his public identity by covering his face from the nose. It was how the soldier recognized him as a middle-aged fellow. Now back to the present, the night passed away and the morning of the next day arrived. Shang Jiao found herself trapped in a house surrounded by 4 giant beasts and one far away coiled around a mountain. Emperor Shang lost his sleep. He couldn't help but just walk left to right for the past few hours while his wife and son were on their way to MT, land on the giant flying stingray. The gold dragon set off to Western Yan at dawn and successfully reached the palace, where he was greatly welcomed by Feng Wu and the others. Meanwhile, some of the influential beings of the empire, like the elders of the sects and a few heads of the major clans, reached the imperial city. Everything is going just as Mark wanted it to go. He was waiting for his father's army to strike Western Yan with full force. While the Phoenix Empire was in the middle of unfolding a huge event, far away from the world, realms above the mortal plane, another plot was started in the Undying Lands. Undying Lands aren't the name of a place or a world. It was the largest region with thousands of worlds in the Immortal plane, where the strongest beasts in the universe exist. One of those worlds was the realm of Grima, and its ruler is named Golden Demon Cat. In the courtroom of the majestic Golden Palace, a little blonde girl with cat ears was sitting on the throne as she looked at her generals and the officials. All of these officials just looked like little girls and boys with animal ears and whiskers. If Mark would witness the scene, he would definitely think that they are cosplaying various feline creatures like cats, lions, tigers, etc. They looked cute, even with their serious-looking expressions. Anand Spencer, the golden kitten, certainly doesn't share such traits, as he looks like a complete human when he transforms. Maybe it is the environment of the earth. Who knows? The queen was addressing her subordinates with full of excitement. With the surrender of Amphia, we have finally won the war with them, and from now onwards, the felines will have complete domination over those canines. All hail the queen, all hail the queen, all hail the queen. As the creatures were hailing their queen, a portal was opened up in the middle of the court, and an old man with a beard touching the floor stepped out of it. The place became silent, and everyone turned wary of the human mage. The queen, who was filled with excitement, became serious. Naturally, she was displeased by this fellow's actions. "What are you doing here, interrupting us like this without my permission, Dungeon Master Yan?" asked the queen. The old man let out a toothless grin where a few teeth are absent for some reason. He replied, "Well, to congratulate your victory over your archenemies, I'm here with a present." "What kind of present?" The golden demon cat's expression didn't change a bit. She was still frowning. "Did you trap my enemies in a dungeon or something?" The old man shook his head and spoke, "The heir has been found, your majesty." The queen stood up from her throne in full of shock, and the entire courtroom was filled with murmurings. Where did you find my grandchild, Yan Luo?" "Dikyu world of the mortal plane," replied the mage while laughing inwardly. "Ha ha ha ha, Yukyang. You might have hid the person, but it wouldn't matter. I will erase that entire world from existence after taking these cats. Take you out of my way. Once the Chaos Lord revives, the gods shall fall." Chapter 424, Lan Jingyi and Shang Wen at MT, Lan. Roughly around 10 o'clock, Shang Wen and Lan Jingyi made it to MT, Lan. Lan Jingyi asked him to stay at the foot of the mountain as she intended to battle against the Zheng to get back her daughter. But as the second prince insisted on following her due to worry about her safety, she decided to knock him out in case of an emergency. Amara, the giant flying stingray, the emperor's mount, made its way to the top of the mountain. There they have the Zheng waiting in its original form. Looking at the 5-tailed scarlet leopard, the 6-circle realm flying stingray was frightened and refused to make its landing. But then, as the Zheng spoke to it in a human tongue, not wanting to see Lan Jingyi getting carried by Shang, when if the latter was a stepson, the king-grade beast reluctantly landed on the mountain but made sure to avoid the Zheng's gaze. Meanwhile, Shang Wen turned wary of the beast emperor. He felt like this opponent is far stronger than he imagined. He decided not to battle it, but instead put his entire focus on how to quickly grab his mother and fly away without caring about Amara. "Welcome to my abode, Lan Jingyi and Shang Wen," greeted the Zhang. Lan Jingyi responded with a question, "Where is my daughter Lan Ju?" The Zhang calmly replied, "First pay your respects to your parents, then we shall talk." Lan Jingyi started walking toward the gravesite. Just as Shang Wen was about to follow, the Zhang looked at him. "Not you, Shang Wen. Outsiders aren't allowed in that sacred place." "He is my son, Lan Ju," said Lan Jingyi without bothering to hide her anger. The Zhang shook his head, but he still doesn't have any ties with the Lan sect, and neither had he any relations with the dead. He is an outsider in my view. You should be satisfied with the fact that I allowed your husband's mount and his son into this premises. Lan Ju also didn't hide his disgust as he looked at Shang Wen and the beast. He doesn't like the imperial family, for whom Lan Jingyi chose to betray the wishes of her father. Shang Wen clenched his fist, but he controlled his emotions, knowing well that he is no match for the beast. Lan Jingyi told him to wait as she walked away. Once Lan Jingyi was out of sight, the Zhang then sat down in silence and closed his eyes. Shang Wen also kept his mouth shut for a while until he couldn't bear it anymore and said, "I don't sense my sister anywhere on this mountain. I guess it must be behind the human who is helping you." The Zhang ignored his words and continued his nap. Shang Wen then spoke, "On our way, I had a lot of time to think about your intentions behind this act. My mother is immortal, my sister is too young, and my brother has already awakened the Phoenix bloodline. He would probably become the emperor someday. So I highly doubt you want to use them to revive your fallen sect. So what is it that you are truly after?" Lan Ju continued to play deaf as if he didn't hear him. But Shang Wen didn't back down. He continued with his theory to confirm his suspicions. "I had this friend of mine. You can say he is like a brother, and I don't have any reason to distrust his words. He says that the gold dragon of the Wuji sect has aligned itself with Feng Wu. He also said that Feng Wu had contracted with this powerful demon, which was the one that attacked us and killed the Grand Secretariat. Now, you took this opportunity and abducted Shang Jiao. A powerful beast like you doesn't need to work with a human unless she is your contractor. And you don't accept just anyone as your partner too. He must be related to this sect and should also have a high cultivation realm." As Shang Wen was speaking out his own theory, something clicked in his head. The gold dragon left Lu Zhen's side after the birthday event of Aoyang Zhen, and Aoyang Zhen's prime minister is Lan Jiang, my mother's paternal uncle. The Eastern Sun Kingdom has the largest reserves of gold, and a long war will bring down our economic conditions, forcing my father to take a loan. Now, everything fits. Lan Jiang is the one who is pulling the strings behind this entire situation, isn't he? He has the perfect reason to take revenge. The Imperial Palace didn't send any help to Lan's sect during the dungeon break. In our defense, it is because we lack the strength to face it. But in his view, we probably have betrayed him. And my mother's marriage to the emperor has probably escalated his anger. So he waited for the opportunity to strike us down. The Zhang couldn't help but open his eyes and take another look at the second prince. It's not because he was surprised about the analysis of the second prince, but it is because his master told him the same thing, that the imperial palace will come to a conclusion. Mark intended to distract everyone's attention away from him by painting Lan Jiang as the prime conspirator. Of course, by the time they investigated everything, they will figure out that Lan Jiang has no role in this, and they have been fooled all along by Mark. But it will be too late by then. Mark would have already finished his revenge. Seeing the Zhang look at him in surprise, Shang Wen more felt like he was right. Making a serious expression, he said, "No matter what you planned, I want to tell you that I will go to any extent to keep my family safe. If that involves selling my soul to a more powerful demon, I wouldn't hesitate to do so." Interesting? The Zhang finally responded to him, seeing that his master's plan is working. "I can sense your sincerity when you said about protecting your family. Answer me, young warrior. What will do if your brothers turn against each other, or if your mother or your sister turns against you?" Shang Wen's face darkened. He didn't give an answer but instead asked him, "What are you planning to do?" "Come back and ask me the same question when you were qualified to have a conversation with me, weakling," replied the Zheng before he closed his eyes once again. Shang Wen's pride was hurt by the Zheng, but he could only clench his fist and stay silent, not just because of the difference in their strength, but it is also because of the fact that Lan Jingyi was still on the premises of the mountain, and Shang Jiao's fate was at stake here. Meanwhile, at Imperial Palace, in the Emperor's chamber, Shang Fu was anxiously waiting for a message from his son. He was so concerned about the situation at MT Land that he refused all the requests for meeting from various sect heads and clan lords to discuss the situation about the war. As he was regretting not establishing a two-way communication talisman between him and his son, his thoughts were interrupted by his third son. "Your Majesty, sorry for the disturbance, but there is someone here to meet you," said the third prince while standing outside of the room. Shang Fu waved his hand. "I'm not in the mood to talk right now, Shang Wei. I will meet the guest in the evening." "Your Majesty, he is a supreme being," said the prince, gaining his attention immediately. Chapter 425, A Supreme Being with Mysterious Origins. In a couple of minutes, Shang Fu met the Supreme Realm expert, who came all the way from the Dragon Empire. He was old with wrinkles all over his body, looking like a bag of bones. "Emperor Shang, let me introduce myself. My name is Huang Ming and I'm a traveling adventurer. I heard about the war and I'm here to help you." Unlike Shang Wen, who just trusts Mark's words, Shang Fu has already confirmed the existence of the gold dragon in Western Yan. Just this early morning, Jinlong was received grandly by Feng Wu, and he didn't do it in secret either. All the citizens living in Gong City witnessed the majestic dragon too. This confirmation only increased Shang Fu's worry, and the appearance of a Supreme Realm expert looked like a blessing from heaven. However, Shang Wei won't be fooled like his father. He immediately inquired the reason behind his action. "But why? Venerable Huang, you must know that we have enemies of the same caliber as you." To which the traveler let out a smile. "I'm not risking my life for fun either. You can pay me with something I desire." "What is it?" asked the emperor. He further added, "Anything you desire, it is yours." The traveler answered, "Your second child, Shang Wen." "What do you mean?" Shang Fu abruptly stood up from his seat in shock and furrowed his brows in displeasure. The traveler continued to maintain his smile as he waved his hand. "You misunderstood me. What I mean is that I want him as my disciple. I heard about his righteous qualities and his talent. With the power of the phoenix running through his blood, he is a perfect person to inherit my knowledge. He will still be your son but won't be able to serve as the general. I'm almost at the end of my lifespan, and I realize that it is almost impossible to make the breakthrough to become the demigod. Rather than expending my life force to chase an impossible dream, I decided to use my cultivation for something great. If your son becomes my disciple, within a few years, I will not only make him a master but also let him inherit my cultivation before I die. After my death, he will return to his homeland as the supreme being. Who knows, he might be able to even become a demigod within a century or two. Everything depends on your choice, Emperor Shang. Whatever you decide, take it very soon. I'm leaving after sunset. If not him, then I will find another. The world didn't lack geniuses with potential." Shang Wei didn't expect not only this Supreme Realm expert to turn out to be Supreme Being, but he is also interested to make Shang Wen his disciple. Adding on top of that, he will also help them in the war. Shang Wei felt like the goddess of luck has smiled upon the empire. Meanwhile, the emperor stayed silent. The Supreme Being from faraway lands was taken to the guest room to take a rest, leaving the emperor in deep thought. He was reluctant to send him away. As the third prince returned to the private chamber and saw his father sitting there and thinking, he spoke. "Your Majesty, this is a fortune for us. Brother is very lucky. But for me, it sounded like I was asked to sell my kid for a favor," replied the emperor. He then looked at him and said, "We don't need his assistance, to be honest." "Yes, but we cannot prolong this war any longer. The more Feng Wu stays on the land, the higher the chance he will discover the existence of the mines and that tomb. There's a high chance it has already been discovered by the third party who is helping him out. But we should be fine as long as the Leon Empire or the Dragon Empire learn of it, or else it would be a huge trouble. That is why we need him. And don't think too much, Your Majesty. Just think of it as you are sending him a conquest for a few years." HMMM. Meanwhile at MT, Lan Jingyi returned from the graveyard and confronted the Zhang. She demanded the release of her daughter once again. In response, the Scarlet Leopard let out a chuckle and replied, "You and I don't belong to this world. You married someone. That's fine with me, but you shall not involve in the wars of these natives. Of course, as your daughter who awakened my late master's bloodline, Shang Jiao shall not involve in the war between Phoenix Empire and the Western Yan either, whatever the result might be. Until this is over, your daughter will be safe with me and you will not cross the imperial city. You are allowed to defend your family at your home, though. I hope you understand what I'm saying, Lan Jingyi." Lan Jingyi stared at him in silence. Meanwhile, Shang Wen was filled with confusion. Lan Jingyi getting herself involved in this war. She is just a mortal without any ether energy. Shang Jiao might have some impact with her six-circle realm cultivation, but the enemies are supreme beings. It just doesn't make sense unless Zhang was actually protecting them out of his affection for the Lan family. Then, what of his conspiracy theory about Lan Jing being the mastermind? His views didn't change much. Mankind is always afraid of the unknown. Rather than thinking that there might be a mysterious enemy, even a righteous person like Shang Wen couldn't help but believe that the Eastern Sun Kingdom is the enemy because, then, everything would just make sense. Genesis Weapon Store, Imperial City. There was a strange silence in the store, and everyone appeared very bored. "Sai, it's been 2 days since the last customer." Placing her head on the desk, Song Yue complained. "Well, it's not like they went out of popularity. It is just that the entire city is in a lockdown state where the soldiers aren't even letting the people leave or enter the city without permission. With the markets closed, the food supply was being taken care of by the Imperial Palace. Of course, Mark has no problem with the ingredients as he has already procured 1 year worth of food and meat from various sources and loaded them into his inventory before the start of the war. However, his business has been impacted slightly. In the current situation, he cannot go to the Western Moon's branch for business purposes as he wants to lie low and make sure he doesn't gain any suspicion from the Imperial Palace. Hence, he decided to send a trusted subordinate to sell the weapons. Alan is out of the equation as his movements also attract attention. Zai Mei isn't trustable. Mark cannot bear to send away his fiancée. The Zhang and the Gold Dragons are doing their own missions. Mark was left with only Chang Bo, the whelp-pair. However, he won't send him away alone. For this project, he has a card up his sleeve. That ace is none other than Meng Tao, who was recruited during the Dragon Warrior tournament but wasn't used yet. Today is the day Mark decided to use this hidden ace. Everyone else was waiting for a customer, while he was waiting for Meng Tao to arrive.